Good morning. We go ahead and call our meeting to order January 27th at 9 o'clock at the Public Works Building. We're here for a council meeting. Then the invocation followed by the pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Almighty and everlasting God, who orders all things in heaven and on earth, look graciously upon the city of Mexico Beach and upon this council today. Grant them wisdom in all their deliberations, and charity in all their dealings. Prosper the work of their hands for the common good of our community. Defend Mexico Beach from every peril, and establish it in justice, peace, and mutual care. In your most holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Father Bates. Take the roll, please.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mr. Fasagi?
Here.
Mr. Adams?
Here.
Ms. Hamilton? Here. Mayor Wolf?
Here. All right, first thing is the consent agenda, the minutes for December the 16th and January the 7th. One was a council meeting, one was a city workshop. They've been reviewed and accepted.
Yes.
Thank you. First thing on the agenda is beach vending permit applications, Class 1 and Class 2. Mr. Mel?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have two applications from the same vendor. One is a Class 1, one is a Class 2. Class 2 is a quick refresher, means you can take the items to any place on the beach. A Class 1 has motorized vehicles as well as one of the locations that is only eligible for that one vendor to take their stuff. One thing that's unique about the Class 1 is that we have increased the insurance liability certificate from $2 million to $3 million because of the motorized vehicles. Barefoot Rentals does not have any motorized vehicles at all. So I took the liberty of allowing them to make an application for a $2 million aggregate. I thought that was fair because of the lack of the motorized vehicles. Other than that, everything else was submitted and in order. So I would recommend to the council they both be approved.
Any comments from the table?
I thought we had already approved. Barefoot?
I think it was
before us?
Coastal.
No, we forgot to say it.
Rotten Coast.
You good with this, Tim? The reduction?
Well, your ordinance does specify the amount, so, you know, you'd be varying what the ordinance says. If you all want to make that kind of distinction, then I would recommend you amend the ordinance to do that, to delineate between motorized and non-motorized limits.
We can add an exception to it.
Well, I'm just, you've got something on the books that says 3 million. I mean, I understand the logic in reducing it, but technically you've got a 3 million on the books. So if you all want to adopt the logic and move forward with an amendment, that would probably be appropriate. Because this may not be the first one. I mean, it may not be the last one that you're going to have that don't have motorized vehicles.
So the option is to adopt it and approve it, and then put an amendment for the no motorized vehicles, 2 million.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, so.
That's the instructions?
Okay.
Okay, based on that, accepted? We good with moving forward on it?
Yes, sir.
Do we need to make a motion with just the
This is a city administrator decision, but we've asked the city administrator from the past to bring his decision on this type of item to the council for kind of a understanding and say go ahead and move forward. So it's not an item we have to vote on.
But out of formality, should we make a motion on the record to make sure the ordinance gets amended to reflect this?
Well, you could do that. My plan is to bring you back the amendment.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, until the amendment is passed, it's not effective, but it would indicate your intent.
Okay.
Okay, so we gotta move forward with the instructions to amend it between the city administrator and the attorney. Moving on to the second thing on the agenda, Casuna, Ocean Plantation sidewalks and road assessment.
Your Honor, we have a road assessment completed by Anchor Engineering, and they did make some recommendations at the very end about certain trip hazards and that sort of thing. And Anchor is here if they want to make a comment on the thing.
Elizabeth Moore with Anchor CEI. The evaluation overall looks good. We evaluated the roads in Ocean Plantation and the sidewalks in Casuna. Overall, they look good, but there were some areas that we felt like could use some improvement, specifically in Casuna for the sidewalks. Your biggest concern there is a tripping hazard. If the city's going to take those over, you want to make sure that those are addressed. I think DOT has a threshold of about 1/4 of an inch, which isn't very much. It creates an actual tripping hazard to qualify as a tripping hazard. So we identified some areas in there that the city may want to consider improving at some point. Now, whether that's before you take them over or after, that's up to the city's discretion. But we did want to make you aware of those concerns. As far as Ocean Plantation, really the roads look really good in there. We didn't see any major potholes. We didn't see any issues with what looked like, people call them sinkholes, but typically they're just where it's undermining. The only thing we really saw in Casuna, Ocean Plantation, was the ribbon curb, which tends to be more of an aesthetic issue. The ribbon curb in Ocean Plantation had a lot of cracks in it. And the only place that it could be, in my opinion, more than an aesthetic concern is where you have the crosswalks with the pavers. That could eventually allow water into the base below the road, which could cause a problem. But I also think Ocean Plantation was built in like 2010, 2011. So after 15 years, I also kind of feel like you'd start to see some problems if you were going to have them. But that is a concern. So there again, you can replace ribbon curb on an existing roadway. It's not like other types of curb that goes underneath the asphalt. This is typically just a straight up and down block of concrete. It is expensive to replace those. It's anywhere from $60 to $80 a foot probably to replace, to demo it out and pour it back in if you used a contractor. So, but I'd be happy to answer any questions about the report that you might have. Oh, in addition, our original task order included $10,000 worth of geotech. We didn't feel that we needed that because we didn't see any areas that looked like the soil was in any way compromised. So that'll come off of our task order.
Do we have anybody from Casuna or Ocean Plantation that want to speak? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Matt Calderon, Casuna, Mexico Beach. So I guess at this point, now that the assessment's been done, what do we think we need to do to move it forward? Next steps.
Okay.
I think that's our biggest question from our side.
Okay. That's right.
My name is Maggie Richmond. I'm from Ocean Plantation. Thank you all for completing this road project and test. We, like Casuna, would like to find out what the next steps would be. We truly want to ensure that we limit future liability and create an equitable solution across the two neighborhoods, given that we are the only two with private streets in Mexico Beach. So we're looking for the, long-term solutions for our neighborhood and ensuring, safety. And then from the financial aspect, given that we all pay into property taxes, we want to ensure that we can be supported as a neighborhood with the roadways.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may?
Come on.
Yes. I just wanted to reiterate one thing. This is not a private street in Casuna. The ownership was taken over by the city, I think in 2003 when the development was built. So I do want to make that distinction between Ocean Plantation and Casuna, that, these are Mexico Beach property at this point. We're just trying to get some consistency in the way that it's done around the city. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other comments, Ocean Plantation or Casuna? Okay, I'll go ahead and move to the table, conversation at the table. Obviously, I went through this also and reviewed this, not just this report, but the overall documents and deeds, and talked to the attorney about it, and also the city administrator. We had several conversations here at the council about it. The obvious thing for me was why we haven't taken Casuna over a long time ago, because the deed says we should have. So I personally don't have a question about Casuna, and I know the cost is gonna be somewhere around $10,000 to take it over. We've been doing some work in Casuna already. Ocean Plantation, my whole deal is there, it's an HOA, it's private roads. I don't see why we would need to take over Ocean Plantation right now. It's not legally forced on us, it'd be a decision to do. And it's one that I think that taking Casuna over and seeing the impact to the city financially and personnel-wise would be a good time and assessment time to be able to look at Casuna and say, okay, maybe we revisit Ocean Plantation a year, 2 years down the road. That's my input.
Yeah, Dom, I would like to, you kind of did it there, go ahead and just separate them. And Casuna, obviously, is the easier one to go ahead and deal with. First conversation, I mean, the deed says we were supposed to take all that. I think that's kind of where we're at with Casuna. I mean, there were some items that came up that in the report, not anything crazy, Elizabeth said. And don't know if even Casuna was willing to help with bringing those up to par, or if they're just gonna say they're the city's responsibility. So I think Casuna is kind of what I would say a no-brainer. The Ocean Plantation, it is a little bit different. I know the deed, I've looked at it numerous times, it says that. But the only thing I will say about that is, when all that was done, there was kind of some things in municipalities that they didn't want to take roads. I feel like this was one of the instances that was happening around in other areas. And I didn't do a complete study to see if it's still going on, but I know in Mexico Beach, we have chosen to take what I know, every other subdivision's roads. So, yes, the deed is clear, but it's, from what I know, is that it's the only private roads in Mexico Beach in a subdivision like that. So, if there's anything we could do to possibly look at, to explore with them. I mean, I know some upgrades need to be done, but they talked about the pavers might need to come out, not have them there. Could we work with them and maybe try to take these roads since we've got everything else?
Jason, I don't want to jump out of turn, but
That's
I've got the same opinion. I mean, what I see happening is if we kick the can, so to speak, with Ocean Plantation, we'll be back, or some council will be here a year or 2 or 3 later, and we'll have to pay to do another study to see what are the conditions of the roadways, and to isolate such a small, I just wanna know how do we do it legally? How do we get the deeds set so the city can take ownership of the roadways? To me, that's the easier solution rather than saying, well, let's evaluate. We've basically been doing Casuna. So why do we want to take this one bit small loop road and wait 2 or 3 more years and then possibly have more maintenance to do than if we took it over now? Just find a way to do it legally is what I'm trying to say.
You know that Ocean Plantation's made modifications to their streets, right?
Right.
Ones that are not in Casuna.
I
Casuna's a
understand.
normal street,
I
pave it, you're
I
done.
understand that.
Ocean Plantation has pavers
I
on the
understand
walkways
that,
of the
but-
streets.
Well, and that's one thing I want to discuss with Ocean Plantation. I'm not saying, I'm saying, I don't know if we can actually vote to take it today, because we need to go into some sort of, if we were going to, if it's a consensus, with Ocean Plantation, to bring things up. I think I haven't talked to them, but why would they be willing to get these things up to par? If things need to be done to get them to our standards, I think Ocean Plantation would, I mean, we should sit down with them. I don't think we should just go and take it and
Agreed.
fix everything. So that was my,
Right, so
Reasoning.
along that line, that conversation could be, we take Casuna in the next year or 2, whatever timetable it is, we ask them to make some corrections that would put it more in line. Like maybe taking all the pavers out of the road and making it a complete paved road. That's something they might be able to do over the next couple of years. It's not something we could ask them to do today, and then tomorrow we'll take it over.
yeah, I just think we need to enter, my opinion, is try to enter into some talks with them and get these things laid out. Because at one time, there were talks about, and this is a big expense, you know, the sidewalks were left out of there. And we kind of, in our LDR and stuff, we have a sidewalk, when you do subdivision, you're supposed to put in there. I'm not saying get them to put sidewalks in, I don't know. But there's several items. I mean, let's just, my opinion is to at least sit down at the table with them. I know Mel has before, but if we're willing to do that and find out what, we got the report, what can we do, and is it feasible, and come back to the table and make a vote on that one, but like I said.
I do have a question for the Casuna folks, if you don't mind. I know the intent for the Casuna folks is for the city to take over complete control over maintenance and responsibilities. But yesterday I was looking through your covenants, and under Article 6, Functions of the Association, it does say that one of the functions is the lighting of easements and right-of-ways. So that's the street lights, I think. And it says maintenance of water, irrigation, and stormwater and maintenance easements and vegetative buffer zone. So there's a stormwater system in the rear that I think you want us to take over, but how does this language compare to what the intent is?
Mayor, if I could, in a typical situation where you have a developer that walks in and says, I want to build a subdivision, you go through the planning process, you go through the discussions with the city staff, and ultimately you come up with a decision on what kind of bond, if any, you're requiring of that developer to ensure that they put in the infrastructure the way that they're supposed to. And then over some period of time, you ensure that the facilities are installed the way the city has mandated that they be installed, and that they're functioning and not falling apart. And usually after some period, a couple of years, 3 years, whatever you all decide, then you would accept the maintenance, knowing that that up to that point in time, either the developer was standing on the repairs, or the bond would be there for the repairs. So now you're faced with that final straw on the acceptance, but you're facing it 20 years, more than 20 years after the developer did the work. So you don't have a developer still there to step up and assist. So the only party that's standing there that can assist would be the homeowners association. And that's purely a call for the, for you as the governing body to decide what you would require in order to take that over. The stormwater system typically in a homeowners association is usually maintained by the HOA, and that's how it's permitted initially with Northwest Florida Water Management or whoever the permitting agency is. I don't know that you would want to consider taking over that system. I thought you all were simply considering the streets and the sidewalks. So I think you could leave the stormwater system with the homeowners association and simply do what the plat said, that they were dedicating the rights of way to the city, and then decide, okay, either it's in a position that you're willing to take it over, or they need to bring it to the standard in order to have the city take it over. With respect to Ocean Plantation, however, that's a different animal. And because the dedication was to the HOA of the streets and sidewalks, I believe you're going to have to require a vote of the owners of Ocean Plantation to determine whether or not they will agree to turn it over to the city if that's what the city agrees to do. So it's a process where I believe they would have to officially take a vote. Not that I don't believe that that their board has the best interest in mind, but typically I think that you would have to have a vote of the members of that association in order to have an official decision that then would facilitate the transfer. There would probably need to be a deed where they would convey it to the city, and that could either be done based upon the platted road rights of way, or I've done it before where you've looked at actual legal descriptions of the roads and the sidewalks, and then the final issue is the condition of those things, and that's something that the city would have to decide. You all would have to decide what you're willing to accept and work with them on that process. So you have some legal obstacles that still have to be jumped through, legal hurdles. I won't call them obstacles, legal hurdles. And I think that you can move in that direction, but you all have to decide if that's the direction you all want to move in. So at this point, I'm sure that they haven't had a vote of your owners yet. So, and I haven't worked with their attorney to go over whatever would be required in that regard, and the deed and all of that. So conceptually, Ocean Plantation, you all kind of need to give staff, Mel, and me some direction. If that's what you want to do, then we can start moving in that direction. The timing of that will somewhat depend upon how long it takes them to do a vote, whether the vote passes, and those kinds of things. So that's the distinction. There is a clear distinction between the two.
So,
Okay, did you have something real quick?
Yes, sir, Mayor. I just wanted to bring up two additional statements here. One being the plat dedication that was done in 2004, specifically in the dedication statement, it says that the subdivision does hereby dedicate to the perpetual use of public, all roads, rights, streets, right-of-ways, but it does also say sanitary, sewer, utility easements, and stormwater management facility. It says that in the plat dedication. Does that, we'd have to go back and look at, I think, at what we have within our HOA to, if there's a conflict there, but the plat dedication seems to clearly state that the stormwater would be part of that perpetual responsibility. The second point I wanted to make is what we noticed, as well as some of the conversation around the board and our homeowners, is what we're seeing other developers within Mexico Beach is that future subdivisions are being taken over by the city for infrastructure management, including stormwater, as I understand. So as we're setting precedents within Mexico Beach for other developments coming in, would, Casuna also fit under maybe what the city wants to see moving forward? But the plat statement specifically, I just wanted to throw that out there, that, within the plat in 2004, it was dedicated, and I don't know how that coincides with necessarily what we have within our HOA covenants, but.
And there was a permit that had to be pulled in order to put the stormwater system in, and ultimately, the permitting agency would want to know who is responsible for maintaining that stormwater system. So I've only been hearing the city talk about the streets, so I didn't know we were talking about stormwater, but I would need to do some research to pull the permit, see how it was represented. And you have the issue of the language in your covenants, so I would have to reconcile all that.
Would one outrank the other essentially? Would the plat dedication and outrank what the covenants say within the HOA?
Not necessarily. The city could decide, even though notwithstanding what's in the plat, the city could decide that it's not going to accept the stormwater system. From a legal standpoint, regardless of the maintenance, there are subdivisions here in this county that, for instance, a fairly large one that the streets were dedicated to the public, and then the developer decided, oh no, wait a minute, I want to make them private, put a gate up, and then it's in the county, and the county never went back and did anything on it. So, notwithstanding what the plat said, the streets ultimately became private. So, the city will have to accept the stormwater. But at this point, I'm not in a position to know what your permit said or what the developer's permit said, and to reconcile the language on the stormwater. The roads were all what I was hearing about initially, so I think that the roads are just an issue for the city to decide, are they willing to accept the maintenance of the roads and move on. But I can certainly, if the city wants me to, I can certainly look at the stormwater aspects.
All right. Do you guys have, you have your 26 budget put together already?
We do.
Do you have money allotted for streets and?
No, did we take that out,
Sidewalks?
Adrian? Yeah, we took that out.
You have no money for sidewalks?
For
Repairs?
sidewalk repairs. So what we've done historically is we, as the builder that builds homes within our neighborhood, we don't allow them to get essentially their permit to build and be completed unless the sidewalks in front of their house are completely intact. So that's the way we've been treating sidewalk maintenance historically, is that it's on the homeowner to fix the sidewalk, but they cannot move into the property until the sidewalk's fixed in front of the house. So what we've seen a lot is the contractors come in, they bring in heavy loads and they crack the sidewalk. So we put the ownership on the homeowners to actually fix sidewalks that are in front of their house. But that's about the extent of any physical sidewalk maintenance that I've seen done in the last.
Has your board seen this report?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I mean, to be honest, walking down 98, I feel like our sidewalks are in much better repair than a lot of the sidewalks down 98 as well. So we've done what we could to fix sidewalks, but
Is that a cut to the city? Or?
no, not at all. I enjoy the sidewalks. It's just some of the sidewalks that were being referenced are in front of my house. I know it's a tripping hazard. I know that my kids go out there and they'll trip over themselves, but it's something that I felt we've needed to bring up. And we brought this up many times over the last 10 years. It's just been repetitive with the city administrators. Revolving door. We were having this conversation pre-2018. Michael happened. A lot of things. We should not have been a priority, and we weren't. And that's 100%, I think, fair. Absolutely. But we're taking the opportunity with Mel being in his seat now, and the council here to actually maybe keep moving this after so long. So, but no, that was not a dig at the city, Mayor. I love it here. I appreciate what our employees do, and there's no way.
As do I.
No, not at all.
Council.
I have a general question.
Yeah.
And before I ask my question, let me just say for the record, I won't be voting on Ocean Plantation today because I'm a resident. Question, Jason brought it up. If the city agrees to annex a neighborhood that does not have sidewalks, but there's sidewalks required by the LDC, how does that get reconciled? Like, does the full force and effect of an LDC get put in place when a private neighborhood gets annexed? How does that work?
Well, again, in a traditional permitting process and evolution of a development, the developer would not be allowed to construct within that subdivision until and unless they complied with the LDC, which would be sidewalks. At this point in time, you don't have a developer standing there. So the question is, if you agreed to accept it, would they have to go back and install the sidewalks? I don't even know if there's enough right of way for them to do that. And I don't know what the law would say. I have never looked at that particular issue. But like I say, in a normal context, the developer wouldn't even be able to construct in there until and unless the sidewalks were installed. So,
Well, the short answer is we do have a city right of way in everyone's front yard. We know this because the utility easement was just exercised by one of the fiber optic companies a couple of years ago, where they all dug up our yards, and they were allowed to because the utility easement exists. So I don't know if that's pertinent to the sidewalk issue. And I'm not advocating nor disadvocating for the need to build sidewalks, and it sounds like, based on your prior comment, we would need, we would want to go into the neighborhood HOA membership vote before we do this, knowing whether or not we got to put sidewalks in. That's the reason.
well, I can certainly look at that.
And that's where I would like to, if we were considering it, I think it's before you talked about the HOA having to take a vote to dedicate the streets, letting them know what we expect so they can figure out how much money they may have to do when they take that vote and what they would have to do to bring it. Yeah, I'm sure that would go, and that falls along the sidewalk thing. And obviously I don't want to take the roads and then 10 years down the road, they call the city and say, you need to put sidewalks in for your roads. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
On the Casuna side, Mel said a few things. I would want to highly confirm. He said the stormwater. Maybe the plat says it. I would like to see how that shakes out. And then something with the irrigation. I don't think the city needs to be, unless we're forced to do stuff. I was under the impression we're talking about roads and streets, getting this thing done, lighting, apparently, because I had a question about the lighting. We didn't put it was their choice of lighting. I think, do we have the numbers on that? But I think that might be a dull point. We may have to take it anyway. But we should check in, double this stormwater and the irrigation and what you just said when they read off of their covenants.
Your answer on the lights is about $10,000.
Yeah, the street lights themselves are about $7,300, $2,400 for mowing and weeding and that sort of thing.
But yeah, but the lighting it came up before that it's kind of in the street package. I don't think we can argue the lighting, but I want to double check those other.
Hey Jason,
Yes.
there is no irrigation at Casuna.
Okay.
I don't know if Ocean Plantation does, but there is none at Casuna.
Okay, it was just something Mel had read off that kind of
We
brought
do
to
have-
my attention.
We do have irrigation in one spot around the pool and the front entranceway, the little bead.
But yeah, we can do, that was just something he said, it was mainly Casuna, because I think Casuna's, we gotta keep them separate.
Yeah, and here's my suggestion from the table. I think that there's a consensus that if we're taking over the streets for Casuna, there's a consensus that we should probably do that. There's a question of what other responsibilities we have, and I think the attorney needs to get involved in that.
Agreed.
So I would say for to move this forward for Casuna and for this council, we need to realize that we're giving instructions to the city administrator to get with the attorney and find out what that looks like for us to take it over. and go ahead and do that. We're gonna take it over, here's our cost, here's what we're responsible for, get confirmation with Casuna and get that operation done. As far as Ocean Plantation, I believe that they deserve a look, and I think we ought to do some work and see if it's something we want to take over. But I don't think it's anything we're going to do in the next year, in this budget year.
And it sounds like we as an HOA need to make a vote anyways in in some certain amount of time.
But I think we would work together over the next year and probably a year or a year and a half and take care of this. But I think today is not the decision.
Mayor, I agree, and I just wondered if we could ask Elizabeth, you did the evaluation. Do we have any idea, I mean, this process of working over the next year or so, they're gonna have to take a vote, we're gonna have to look at some legalities. The attorney's already expressed, you know, deeding and all the intricacies involved there, but do we have any clue as to what it would take to bring those streets up to what the city wants? I think that would be part of it.
Well, sorry.
Yeah, I'm done.
Well, also, in that being said, the burden obviously needs to be on Ocean Plantation. You know, there's gonna be survey work, or if we go by legals, I don't know how it's gonna be, you know, there's gonna be those things. So, I mean, obviously, and I think Ocean Plantation, if I was, you know, would look at every avenue. That's why we can work together and give them the list of what they need to do and let them compile.
Get their vote in place.
Well, get their, because I want them, when they come to the table, I want to know that their vote was solid, that they know they've got to spend 10, 20, 50,000, whatever, for us to take these streets, and they have the money and they're going to do it. And I know we won't take the streets till it's done, but I would like for them, I mean, just so everybody doesn't, it's not a shocker or anything.
That makes sense to Ocean Plantation.
Yes, it does. I would like to get clarification on the pavers. I know that pavers are allowed on roadways. I know we don't have a ton of them in Mexico Beach, but they do exist in some roadways. I would ask maybe Elizabeth to help with, hey, is there a recommendation to remove them, or are they solid?
Yeah, let me tell you from the table, okay? Every time we do any sewer work or anything else around the city, pavers become a major problem of who replaces them, who did them originally. We've had our staff put them in, we've had subcontractors put them back in. We've had the people that originally did it have to put them. It's always been a hassle. So my suggestion for Ocean Plantation in this planning process over the next year or 2 years, whatever it is to remove them and have solid asphalt on the streets.
And just a comment on those pavers for Ocean Plantation. So if you look at just the Google Maps overhead satellite view of our neighborhood, we've got 6 different little sidewalk, or I'll call them crosswalk level pavers. And I have no idea why they were put in there, because we don't have sidewalks. So somebody just put this little narrow strip of sidewalk pavers around the neighborhood. That's fine. So, but I want to be clear as to where the boundary is between the city-owned property on Joe Drive and the Ocean Plantation neighborhood. So if you look at this, there's a drainage ditch, and it goes right underneath the bridge. The bridge is a concrete bridge that actually drives into our neighborhood. And one half of the bridge belongs to Mexico Beach, the other half of the bridge belongs to Ocean Plantation. But if you look at the satellite view, there's a giant paver spot right there at the intersection into our neighborhood. That is all city owned. That is on the Joe Drive intersection with our neighborhood. So while we're talking about pavers, just want to be clear that there's a significant number of pavers that maybe the city wants to take care of, but that's not inside the Ocean Plantation neighborhood.
Who put the pavers in there?
That's a great question. Probably the original.
I doubt if the city put them in.
I'm just saying it's on city property.
Yeah, we're just trying to give y'all an opportunity.
Yes. Yeah, that's all. We're just talking about what we can do over the next year.
Right, but the reason for me bringing this up is, if Ocean Plantation is, the HOA is going to be responsible for replacing and removing those pavers that are not on our property, they're on city property, because the original developer put it in, we would want to know that going in. We
Well,
would-
that's
we
what,
would want that.
that's what I was explaining about having a meeting between staff and your Ocean Plantation to get a plan that y'all know what you gotta do.
Yeah.
That was the,
Yeah, this is gonna be something we're obviously gonna have a day that we dedicate to, you know, a workshop or something, and get together and see how this looks long term. So we're not giving up on you guys, you're, something that you want, we'll work towards it, but we have to work together to do it.
I appreciate the support.
Kasuna, I think we go ahead and, go forward with that. I mean, today, I think we need to vote on that, we don't, right?
Well, you'd have to vote to accept the maintenance responsibility, yes, sir.
But
We still need
we still need clarification on some other areas.
If you're not ready
Right, yeah,
to do
we're
that,
not-
then you wouldn't want to vote today.
Okay,
You'd want to wait until you got whatever clarification.
okay, so we want a consensus at the table that we want to move forward to gather that information.
yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
as soon as that makes sense,
I think so. All agree with that? We know next steps, yes, sir.
okay? All right, that's what we'll do. Then close that. Move to a change order for mainline construction on 14th Street lift station. Mr. Mel.
Yes, sir. When it comes to the 14th Street lift station, things are going very well there, but of course, there was an issue with the three-phase power and that sort of thing, so Duke had to come in and, you may recall in one of my previous reports that they were not going to charge us for making that adjustment. However, there is a termination point for their services that is 100 feet away from where we need this to go. So we have to add 100 feet of conduit and wire to this project, which was not originally part of the plan. So the change order is to add that cost to the project and go ahead and pay for it for the sewer impact fees. And if there's anything I left out, Ms. Anchor?
You got it.
All right, we're going to open it to the citizens. Any comments on mainline construction? The public? Then close the public, move to the table. Any comments at the table?
I guess I'm a little annoyed that we didn't get these details from Duke Energy beforehand, but can't do anything about it now, and the cost seems reasonable.
Any other comments? Cover labor and material both?
Correct.
We already have how much invested in this? Ballpark?
I don't have an answer for you off the top of my head.
Okay.
I will say we did save I don't have that number, but we did have some change orders last meeting that we saved a little bit.
That was a
70,000,
positive
about 70,000.
So,
Right.
just to throw it out there. Well, at least we're not going backwards yet.
Right.
All right, we have a motion to move forward.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the change order for the 14th Street lift station to mainland construction, main line.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second? Take a roll, please, ma'am.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Poseidon?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Task order, Anchor Engineering. Mr. Mello, you want to start it, or?
Sure, I can start it out. This is due to a grant that we had received due to the work of January. And rather than me take any glory for having gotten that grant, I'd like for January up and address the board about how she got it, where we're at, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
That way she gets the pat on the back and
All right.
So we won this grant the end of the summer 2025. And this is just what I call phase one. This is the planning. This is where we get all the surveys done, the permitting done, the drawings done, all of that. The first steps are that we need to have like a workshop, get some of the citizens involved in finding a good spot to have this. Have the walkover. 2 out of the 4 locations I had put on my application are the Sunset Park and the 7th Street. So those got taken out. And then the next one was the by where the pier's being built and possibly over on the west side of the canal. So this is just asking for the task order to allow the Anchor to go ahead and get us started with the beginning stages, get the workshop together, possibly 2 workshops if needed, and figure out what all we need to do at that time and before we start the permitting and the geotech and all that.
Any comments from the public on ADA walkovers? Any questions or anything? Come on up.
Jim Bush, Palm Street. I would just have a question. Who would you include in the workshops?
Anybody who wants to come to the workshop.
So we're talking citizens.
Yes, yes,
Thank you.
for
That's
sure.
all the question I
Yes.
had.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I have already turned in the application for phase 2. We probably won't find out that until beginning to midsummer. That'll be for the building stages. And if, depending on where we decide, it could be done by the end of the year next year. Yeah.
All right, any other comments from the public? Then close the public, move the table. 50/50 project. We're looking at 94, actual is 47 of the city.
Actually, this one, it would be 23, this phase. Because you could only get 60,000, I think, off of this one. Yeah.
You don't mind that with you
Go
whenever
ahead.
you're ready?
Go ahead.
I wanted to kind of re-go through this. When we were in the budget talks, gotten clarification. We knew this grant was coming up, and we agreed to match it. And from what I remember, is this grant money, this was gonna go towards the walkovers that we are working on now. But apparently, some technicalities have said that we can't use this grant for that, that we have to go for another location. So, that being said, I would like for us the table to consider possibly tabling this until the next meeting, because we've just gotten the bids in for the 2 walkovers. And they're in, they have been opened, but they were in the report. So we're looking at, roughly $280,000 for both of those. And we know we've kind of gotten some TDC support, some commitment. But until we know, what I'm getting at is, I want everything, all of them to be ADA if we could. There's no doubt.
Yes.
But I want to at least get 1 or 2 in, and we don't know yet where the money's coming from. Do we just hold for another few weeks and see where we're getting money for these 2? And I know we've only set aside 30,000. That means we wouldn't be able to use the grant. I get it, or it can float for another few months. But just my opinion at the table, and I think the citizens, okay, we need to get some ramps to build. And after I seen these bids, 280,000 for both of them, a little bit more, we may be looking for money to help build the two that they're permanent, I mean, they're bid, they're really not permanent, they're ready to go. So do we table, I mean, I know I'm talking January, do we just give it a little breather and see and make sure where our money's coming from for the two, in case we might need this 30?
I mean, if you do that, then you're probably killing this grant.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, our match, I mean, I'm not, because
I know, but.
this grant can be, didn't we have this, isn't this the same grant we had in 24?
No,
Or
we
didn't
just
use?
got, we just signed.
Didn't we reapply for it, or no? Okay,
No.
Okay.
No, it
And I
just,
don't wanna lose the grant, I'm just talking at the table, I wanna get some walkovers built, and I don't know
Right.
yet where that money's coming from.
So Jason, I tend to agree to a point, but are we obligated to do anything beyond? I mean, we can do the planning, and then if we see this goes over the top, we don't have to spend any more money.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
I mean, obviously, we're gonna have to come up with some money to build the two.
and maybe we don't, I'm just bringing it to the, I mean, I just wanna get, I'm already looking for the money in case we have to
Yeah,
get some. And we can move forward with, I mean, it's not a lot of money, but, you know,
And like you, in a perfect world, it'd be nice to have every walkover compliant.
and I know we've talked about, and there's nothing now, this task order is the tax anchor with finding it, but we've sat here at this table and talked a lot about what places do we really have that will be ADA compliant? I mean, that's why we went with the two that we have. Do we really have another one that's gonna fit, you know, have the parking spaces, have?
Well, we were looking
I know
at
we're looking at
the
the
pier,
pier is the problem.
because if you look at the plans for the pier, as they are right now, there's not really a dune walkover access to the beach there.
Mhm.
It just shows, you know, you walk up to the pier, then the pier goes out. There's no way, I mean, you could walk in the sand and over the dunes beside it, but there's no other way to get to the beach.
And those are just some of my concerns. I'm all for, hey, but I do wanna see,
Yeah.
we have to get some walkovers built.
so I tend to agree that I would love to have actual costs in the rearview mirror for the first two ADA compliant walkovers in the bank, paid for before, so we know what the actuals are. But it also sounds like if we don't move on this, maybe not today, but if we don't move on this soon, we're gonna lose the grant.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. I have till September to have it done. I can extend it to the end of December, but that would be it.
And and all you're asking for us today is just this phase one. It's not phase two.
Really, it's not even the whole phase, it's just the task order to have the workshops and the, hold on, I'm sorry. And, that was basically it, right? To have the, yes, yeah.
So if we agree to this, 94, 95, the city's responsible for half of that.
If we continue and finish
if-
the whole grant, yes.
You gotta finish the entire grant process. I
Yeah,
mean,
because
you can't do this part and they're
Not
gonna
a
pay
design
their.
stage?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Not a design stage, I think that's.
That's, the design stage would be at, near the end of this phase one.
But if we decide not to follow through after the design,
Oh, well, if we go all the way up to the design stage, then it would be 50-50, yes. Because that's as far as phase one goes. The bidding and getting the contractor and all that, that would be phase two.
I think Jason's question is, can we get paid for phase one if we don't move to phase two?
No.
So,
Oh.
the real impact is 100%.
Gosh, I wouldn't even know, I would assume so, because that's just, maybe I could apply for it the following year.
My question was,
I don't know how that would work.
if this was, if we split, if you said some other number, and we stop after this is done, we've done this task.
Right.
We've given it, we finished it, we've done it, and we can't move forward, will we at least get the portion of the grant money, half of it? You gotta go through the whole
Correct.
Okay.
This is they reimburse you at the end when you're done everything. Yes,
So if we.
of this phase.
So,
Yes.
so to say it another way, if we approve moving forward today for just phase one,
Right.
for this cost, $9,400, and something happens between now and the end of the year, or we just,
We're out 94.
we don't move on to phase two, we just drop it, then we're out $9,400.
Correct.
So as this is a grant separate and whole from a phase two grant that you're applying for, this one grant
Right.
says it's just for this planning. If we complete that grant, we're still not eligible for that 50% reimbursement?
No, if we complete this grant, the planning stages, all the way up to permitting.
Okay.
Now, and you
I think that's
can
what they're
ask for
trying to get at
amendments.
is-
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, if you do everything, because right now we're just asking to proceed with the very beginning stages of phase one. That's what we're asking for today.
So if we complete everything up to full stop of phase one and phase one only, which doesn't include construction,
Correct.
complete phase one,
Yes.
then we get half our money back.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
that's something.
And then even if we
Phase
don't.
one includes permitting.
Right.
And that's gonna be roughly, we hope, the 60 grand.
Yes.
30 for us, 30 for the grant.
Yes.
I have a question from now. If the bid to build is 280,000, how long is that good for? Listen, you know, because if we stall too much on this end, are we gonna lose that bid of 280?
Well, that's a whole separate project.
I
for
realize
this,
that,
right.
but one thing intercedes with the other. If we
Usually
stall
different
more with this, I'm thinking, is that gonna delay that bid? And do we run out of time to get it at 280? That, my thought being, after the conversation at the table, if we're gonna stall on getting the whole thing started, is that gonna affect the final bid time? That we wouldn't be
No,
able?
it's usually 90 days.
Okay.
Now, I would hope, and I know we're speaking out of line, this is coming up probably on the next meeting, once the attorney reviews the bids.
Or the engineering firm.
The engineering firm, sorry.
Yeah, I don't.
That, you know, that we're gonna, we're all gonna find the money and we're gonna start building ramps. I would say, I could speak for the table, that we're ready to, Ms. Hamilton, to build 2 ramps, we're ready.
2 for
Just
sure.
gotta
When
secure,
I'm-
where's the money, and I know we have the money in the bank, and the TDC hopefully will pony up, but we need to get with them.
And what is the commitment that they made to us verbally? Was it?
The commitment was that we would pay for all the design process, and they would pay for the actual construction.
Pay for all of it, 100%.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, back to
All
the
right.
city narrative.
All right. So on this task order, do we want to proceed with these? And these do not have anything to do with the others yet?
No.
I make a motion that we approve the task order for 88 new walkovers.
With notice to proceed. And with notice to proceed.
Yeah, and with notice to proceed.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, take the roll, please.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Fasani?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes?
Ms. Hamilton? Yes. Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Move on to the fifth item on the task order for DAG architecture concept design. No?
Yes, sir. The next 2 items are having to do with the fire and police facility on the 25 acres. The city council, as well as the public during the workshop, made it very clear they wanted that to proceed at the 25 acre spot to the north of us here. So in order to do that, we need to issue a couple of task orders for those services. The first one is from DAG Architects. They intend on working pretty much with the building and the accompanying items for the building, like parking, interior construction, handicap accessible, plumbing, electrical, that sort of thing. And so their task order is for a total not to exceed $25,000. That will come from the FEMA funds that have already been approved.
And then Dewberry?
The Dewberry item is a task order that we didn't receive until yesterday. It is for quite a bit more money. It's for $94,650. This is the more technical review of the whole situation. This includes two of the big ticket items, or the existing and proposed conditions modeling and H&H. And in case someone wants to know what H&H means, it's hydrologic and hydraulic. I think that's correct. And also another big item is the engineering site design service FEMA review submittal. That's about $63,000. So everything totals up to $94,650. And we would also request that the city council approve that one, which is also approved through FEMA funding.
And this is not only approved but required before we can go any further with FEMA, right?
Exactly. The last conversation with FEMA is they're waiting for something from us. Until we give them something, we're dead in the water.
And these two things together, Dewberry and DAG proposals, those together are the thing they're waiting on, or are they just waiting on Dewberry?
They're waiting on the design, and that's what this is what provides that.
This is based off our conversation about the 25 acres. Let's get an open to the public. Any comment from the public on two task orders we're trying to move forward that have to do with the 25 acres? No comments from your audience. Go ahead and move to the table.
This is exactly what we asked for 2 weeks ago. Hats off to DAG and Dewberry for working overtime to get all this to us within 2 weeks.
And I guess I still have concerns about our ability to actually be able to build on the 25 acres because of the flooding zone concerns. So does this lock us into this would be our only choice? That we would have to go with the 25 acres? We don't have the option of using this space that we have right here in any kind of way or form? You know, in other words, I didn't agree with that last meeting. I thought we should use this current land. We can even go up to a second story. I think everything could remain in one campus. I think that would be to the advantage of the citizens or anybody that wants to come here. In the 3 years that I've been on the city council, I see somewhat of a family atmosphere here among the firefighters and the public works department and all that. And when we separate all that, and they're on 25 acres and some people are here, that doesn't make it that convenient for people to come to this campus and have all their needs met at one time. So I'm still not real crazy about thinking we can go the 25 acres, we have to build a bridge, we have to get FEMA's permission when they've already said they're not going to reimburse us for if we build anything in a flood zone. There's so many questions about that 25 acres. I feel like maybe, you know, St. Joe Company gave that to us because they really couldn't do a whole lot with it. You know, once again, in our comprehensive plan, it does talk about how we should promote opportunities for recreational opportunities, which that 25 acres could be used for, the pickleball courts, a walking trail, a dog park, lots of good things what we could do over there and somehow work the property that we already have. And, you know, this is gonna lock us into saying we're gonna do it over there. The expenses just go on and on and on. We know the route of FEMA. If they're already giving us a red flag about maybe that's not a good idea because of the floodplain, why do we wanna keep pursuing that?
Discussions at the table on January the 26th workshop minutes. Discussion at the table to give the direction to the city administrator to put together a task order to proceed with the building of the police fire station in 25 acres. Duly noted, your suggestions are in the minutes, but a decision was made and a vote was had, and there was a 4-0 vote. So we're at a point, and I think Mr. Eric said the same thing. We're at a point where we've told these people to put the rest of the task order together so that we move forward and get a decision that we have not received from FEMA telling us, no, you cannot build it, because we never gave them all the information.
One of the items that Dewberry is tasked with, though, for their fee is to minimize the impact, you know, in the flood zones there. So we're hopeful that they can somehow through their professional contacts, you kind of help us minimize those concerns. Ms. Hamilton does have a legitimate concern, because if we spend this money now for the 25 acres and we're told no, we've got to go back to the previous task orders and do it again for this location. And that will probably not be on FEMA's dime, it'll be on ours. Just throwing that out.
Well, and just to dovetail us all in the minutes from our workshop, but first off, a major construction project on this site would put the city in operational chaos. And frankly, I don't think there's square footage here to plan for the future. I think as the council, we discussed this at the workshop, the 25 acres is the answer for growing needs for the city. Now, if we get shot down by FEMA, I think we all agree that, A, there aren't a lot of places in town where we could go and expand to. We all have discussed, you know, we've had input from people say, well, you know, you can acquire land adjacent to City Hall. Well, there's no guarantee people are gonna sell it to the city. So I think we've had all those discussions. We've got the task orders. We at least need to find out. And I think with the 25 acres, there's gonna be still opportunity for recreational, you know, dog park, walking trail, whatever you wanted back there. So, just my 2 cents.
Any other comment?
Yeah, we're all exhausted with FEMA, we're all exhausted with this process, but I think we committed at our last meeting that 25 acres is our first choice. I didn't hear anybody that is super, I didn't hear anybody at the last meeting or the workshop say that if we're forced to get a consolation prize, which is expand this site, none of us are gonna be upset about that. I think we all see the potential for this site, but the 25 acre site is what we as a council committed to as our first priority. So Ms. Hamilton brings up a great point. This is unfortunately a checkbox that we have to do with FEMA. It's an expensive checkbox. We're about to authorize about $104,000 to get FEMA's answer. And FEMA's answer could be no, and then we're out $140,000.
Well, but I think what we do understand as a council now is we have professional grant writers working for us, and we may have to take FEMA out of the equation on this project.
And we brought that up last time, yeah.
So I think we have to, personally, let's just move forward.
It's also money that's gonna be put in design for FEMA, so we're gonna see it come back, but it's not great to spend it. I mean, we're taking a gamble, but we need to get an answer.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, my sense of the citizens of Mexico Beach is they just want something done. And I think we as a council want something done. And so we need an answer on the 25 acres.
Then check that box.
Yeah.
Have a motion to move forward or approve or deny?
Are we gonna vote on these separately?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so, DHG is the first one.
It's DAG.
I'm sorry, DAG, first one is for just the building, the concept design for the buildings complex. So I make a motion that we approve the concept design for the municipal complex from DAG Architects.
I'll second
A motion and a second, take the roll, please.
Mr. Cox?
it. Yes.
Mr. Fisaki?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
No.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Move on to the next task order, Dewberry.
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve the concept design for the municipal complex from Dewberry.
I'll second it.
Motion and second, take the roll, please.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Fisaki?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
No.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Moving on to ordinance 876, Mr. Mount, discussion. Or Laura, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think she's awake.
It's nice and warm in here. So this issue is the item that we first talked about in December, and this is the allowance of a boat or water-related structure to be considered as a primary use rather than an accessory use. And so accordingly, there was just some discussion on how we wanted to approach that. And at your request, I put together an analysis of and a comparison of other jurisdictions and how they handle this throughout the state of Florida. So to refresh, the principal use definition in our land development regulations is the main building or structure on a lot that is utilized for the purpose of the property, for the property's principal use. And an accessory structure is one that is in nature, incidental, and subordinate to that principal structure. So, and we also require those to be on the same parcel as the principal structure to which they are necessary. Historically, Mexico Beach has listed the boat dock, boat house, pier, wharf situation not in the principal structure category of the Land Development Regulations, Chapter 2, the zoning districts. It's been in a category that was not necessarily called an accessory use, but has been required to be approved by case, so case-by-case situation. So it's not necessarily apparent that the city considers them a principal use. So the suggestion was to move that over so that somebody with a vacant parcel could build a water-dependent use without the home or dwelling being there already in place. So just as a little background, did some analysis on the canals, and I called them there's two canals. One's that's where we have the vacant land where the Sweetwater is, and then the primary canal, which I call, is the one that comes in from the Gulf and comes over and terminates. So you have a lot of canal frontage. There is approximately, where's my numbers? I think there was approximately 6,200 feet, which is starting at the mouth of the canal, mouth of the Gulf, and coming into the eastern terminus. And then there is the part that goes into Sweetwater that's about 5,700 feet long, which is currently vacant. Within those two measurements, not including and those measurements don't include the little fingers. There's a couple little fingers that come off of those canals. But I did an analysis that showed that of that area, including the fingers, you have approximately 60% developed with single-family homes and 40% that are still vacant today. This doesn't include any multifamily structures that you have. This is just the single-family, which are more likely to have the individual docks and wharves and piers and such. So you still have quite a bit vacant, in addition to what Sweetwater may bring in, which currently is 100% vacant, and that was the 5,700 foot long measurement. So just put that into context as we're thinking through this. So we went and looked at varying other jurisdictions across the state. We looked at several within our region, and we looked at several in South Florida. So I'll just run through these really quickly. Manatee County does require that you have a primary structure on your property before you have an accessory structure, which includes boat docks and any other kind of water-dependent use. Fort Walton Beach is also in that category. You cannot construct a boat dock prior, or any accessory use prior to the construction of the principal structure. And again, same with Okaloosa County, you have to have a primary structure before you can develop a secondary or accessory structure. The city of Cape Coral, which interestingly enough is called the Venice of America because the number of canals and the miles of canals they have 400 miles of canal development. And they do just recently change their code to allow the construction of a boat dock or some sort of water-dependent use prior to the primary structure. I did talk to the planner over there. She said this is a recent development within the last year and a half, that they're trying something new. I asked her if they had any issues with somebody coming in and building a boat dock and then not building the house, and she says they have not had that. But we also have to realize the geography of some of these places in South Florida. They probably don't have the people driving down from Georgia or Alabama for the weekend because they're so far south. So they don't have so much of that second home situation happening as we probably do here. So she said if that comes up in the future, they may reevaluate how they operate and look at restrictive agreements, but right now that's not a problem from them. So they do allow the boat dock or water dependent use to be developed before the house and not contingent upon the house. The city of Bradenton does not allow accessory buildings prior to the principal building. Sorry, that was Bradenton Beach. The city of Bradenton does by practice, but not necessarily by code. So what they do is they do allow the development of the boat dock or the water dependent use, but they hold up the final building permit of that boat dock. They don't issue it until the house is under construction. So they let them go ahead and get it ready, get it started so that the construction and it's in place. They just don't finalize that permit until the residential building is well under construction. So it seems like a very viable option. The city of Sanibel is one that does allow the construction of the boat dock, boat lift, or any kind of structure, but they issue those by conditional use permit. It's not necessarily allowed by right. It goes through the planning board and then onto the city council. Lee County also does allow them to build a boat dock, I'll just call it a water dependent use, before the primary use. And those are the jurisdictions we study. Gives you a wide berth of ideas to consider as we're moving forward with this. So it's not unheard of to allow that to occur. Some local governments do have a mechanism to make sure that the residence is built, and some just allow it by right.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and go through the reading of the ordinance, and we'll go to the public, real quick. We get a motion to read the ordinance.
I make a motion that we have is it a second reading? Second reading of ordinance 876 by title only.
And take a roll, please.
Oh,
I'm
just
sorry.
here a second.
I'll second,
But before we have a reading, can we have a little bit of clarification here?
yeah,
Well, reading it does not, I mean, all we're gonna do is go through that process. That's why we're gonna open it up to the public and open it up to everybody else. We're not making any decisions. Okay?
I think we should also note that the P&Z adamantly recommended denial of this amendment as we're coming up with thoughts on this.
Okay,
We just have a motion on the table to read.
all right. We have a motion on the table and we have a second.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Fasagi,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
yes.
Mayor Will.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 876, an ordinance of the city of Mexico Beach, Florida, amending the city's land development code relating to docks, piers, boat slips, and boathouses and accessory structures, providing for repealer, severability, correction of scrivener's errors, liberal construction and codification, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. We're getting open to the public. Any comment on it? On 876?
Rock Crease, MD. Last time I made comments, the attorney, this is my private, even though I'm on the P&Z board, this is my private as an individual here, my opinion on this. I'll use, Mel was the city manager. I got here before the hurricane. Had to follow the regular rules that are in place. Had $30,000 worth of pilings hammered in the ground. Come up here to get my workshop, to move in all my stuff in storage, waiting on my house, and I had the workshop. And it was denied by the city because I didn't have a house. But I had $30,000 worth of pilings in the ground, no house, but I couldn't get anything done. You're making a change for no reason whatsoever, except for a handful of people, and you're dividing Mexico Beach, 95% of the people that don't live on the water versus a few percent that did. There's no reason to do this whatsoever. It came before P&Z 3 times, all 3 times it got shot down. You live up in Georgia, or Alabama, whatever, you got property on the water, you bring your boat down here, you launch it like everybody else. So you got property on the water, now you want to have a boathouse. Well, I live in Alabama, I got property in Mexico Beach over here, but I can't put a pole barn on to keep my boat. I have to bring it back and forth or leave it in a private storage area. Why can't that person do the same thing? Instead of changing the rules. You're dividing up Mexico Beach, like I said. 95% of the citizens can't put a damn thing on their property until they have a house. So if you're gonna change this and let somebody who has waterfront property put a dock in their backyard, then let everybody else in Mexico Beach who owns property put a boathouse or whatever so they can store their RV or their boat or whatever they want to do and make it fair to everybody. There's no reason to do this. Thank you.
Come on up.
Jim Bush, Palm Street. I'd like to call the council's attention to section 1.8.2. And I understand what you're trying to say there, but that doesn't say it. Prohibit location of any use that would consider the working waterfront a nuisance. I think that needs to be reworded. And the word nuisance or consider is also a weasel word. It's too damn subjective. In reviewing all the cities that Laura went over, they listed specifically what you could do and what you couldn't do. And I think we need to do the same thing. If you make it subjective, what's a nuisance to one person may not be nuisance to another person. So I would recommend that one, either that be rewritten so that any use which would be considered a nuisance by the city be in there, and then in addition to that, that you list what it can be.
Lisa Logan, Mexico Beach. I am also on the P&Z, but I'm speaking as a private citizen. I came up here 2-3 months ago and gave information from my research about what was left to be developed on the waterfront properties. I've read the report that Alara was talking about. She had, I believe, 39 properties listed that were still undeveloped. I came up with between 20 and 30 properties. So if you change this and allow 20 to 30, or we'll even say 39 properties to build boathouses before the primary structure, that is a handful of people who are being given a privilege that literally hundreds of Mexico Beachers have been denied over the years. We've had this rule in place for over 30 years. We have basically, for the most part, enforced it. I do not believe that just because somebody owns a piece of waterfront property that they should be given a special privilege, especially fewer than 40 people. And I don't think that it is that much of a hardship for people to build a house first. We know that we have a very transient population in Mexico Beach. We have already seen that a lot of people will bring their boats down or their campers down and not ever build a house. This is excluding Sweetwater completely. So I think it is a huge mistake and quite frankly a slap in the face to most people in Mexico Beach if you suddenly change this and allow these very few remaining properties to suddenly be able to do what so many have been denied all these years. You need to think about the entire town and not just a handful of people.
Any other comments from the audience? Public? And close that, move to the table. Comments from the table?
I have a few.
Go ahead, Jason.
I guess the first thing I just want to clarify, we had a first reading on this and we voted to move forward. we interjected some setbacks, some heights, some things that needed to be interjected. And I don't know if I just didn't receive something, but, you know, I don't have all that in front of me of what we decided. I remember we sat at this table and come up with some things. So here we are in a second reading. I couldn't understand, we gotta, talking about Mel wrote, you know, a second reading and maybe continue at another meeting. So on Laura's analysis, you know, I'm in the same, I guess I should have went and checked. I did not think there were 39 or 40 left. I really did. I thought it was just a handful. And when we discussed this at the prior meetings, I understand there's been a lot of vocal stuff about not allowing it. But really when it came up, it's because I'm hearing that it says, well, we've never allowed it, but I've seen it. I've been around here for quite a while, and it's been a practice that people have built boathouses on the canal without a house. Not overwhelming, but it has been done. So that's where kind of this came up. We need to clarify, are we going to allow it, or are we not going to allow it? So here we are now, and I agree, you know, Rob's got a great point. People can't do it, but maybe that's something else that we need to address for people with the rest of the lots are in town, if we're gonna allow people to go ahead and construct something before the house is built. I mean, if we follow through with this, you know, it seems like we're kind of, I mean, I want to hear from the rest of the table, because we were kind of on the first reading and we were moving forward, and now we have a report that we have done. And the report is kind of, I mean, you could say that the majority of it says they don't allow it. So we're in that, and, you know, I know we don't want to bring up, we just allowed, you know, the pole barns for the food trailers. I was a vote on that. Somehow the trailer became the primary structure to allow that. And we've got this here to allow boat docks, not houses, on these lots. And I hear a lot of this privilege stuff, you know, and I don't see it as that, but that's my opinion. That's why we may need to revisit the rest of the city and allow what people are being allowed and whatnot. But either way, we're here, and I don't know, are we here to adopt this? Are we here for discussion still? Because when I read this, you know, it says, you know, adoption of the ordinance and define it to the next regularly scheduled meeting, and I just don't see all the, if I was to adopt an ordinance, I don't see all the setbacks and the heights, or did I just not get that information?
Can I address
Yes,
that?
ma'am.
Yes. So my understanding was you wanted to receive some information about what other jurisdictions do. And from today, whatever input you have on whatever changes, I could incorporate that and bring that back in the final form. So I didn't make changes already because I didn't know if you wanted to make changes again.
I know, I was just, when we're getting here
Yeah.
to the second reading, I'm like, I don't think we're.
So obviously, we're not adopting this as written with what we've got in front of us today, but I think just for point of clarification, I think I was very vocal about, I don't think we changed the classification from accessory structure to primary structure. I was totally opposed to that and remain so. I'm also totally opposed to Rock. I mean, I'm with Rock. He makes a very valid point. If you're gonna change one rule for this accessory structure, I think there's a model in here, and it's really pretty clear. We don't provide special access to your boathouse prior to you submitting your full development package. To me, that's the simple fix, you know, and if we wanna do that, then we can open it up to the entire city. John Jones or whatever property owner says, here, city, this is my development plan. I also want to have a pole barn in my backyard, but once my house is built, it's going to be difficult to get it there. He can develop it all simultaneously. I just think that to change the rules,
That's what I brought up.
the road we're going down here.
Brock's got a good thing. Maybe, you know, it's fair for one, fair for all. I mean, it's just like what we just did.
But we don't want a town full of accessory structures. You know, that's the whole
I don't
point.
either.
No, nobody does.
No, but the
Look,
whole
what's this-
point is, I think that we're looking for is we're looking to get both accessory structure with a primary house. That's
That's
what
the
we're looking
goal.
for.
Yes.
The real question is, can we build one before the other? The current ordinance says one has to be built before the other. We're looking to say, do we want to change it so that they can build? Access on the water is building a boathouse, you're building it from the land down. If you build a primary structure, then you're building it from what?
From a barge.
Yeah, from a barge across. So it's.
But Mayor, that's been done before. I mean.
Of course it has.
And
I mean, they're building the bridge up here at Tyndall from barges, so it's,
And we got into that discussion, I mean, I'm interrupting, I guess, and we got into that discussion before. There's also the other side of it is, okay, accessory structure, I get it. It is, if you wanna call it accessory structure, but we talked heavily about the accessory structures built on land and built on water are two different. I mean, you got impervious area, you got a lot of different, we're gonna instill some setbacks on these things if it goes through, but you got other stuff, once you build on the lot itself, that has to be in place.
so case in point. For those, and you live on the canal.
Mm-hmm.
Do you own the water, or does your property end at the water?
Ends at the water. My particular, I mean, where my survey, from what I've had
But-
done.
And that probably pretty much applies to most. The entrance and exit to the canal, the people that live on that canal there with boat houses, that canal is owned by the city. True?
Yes. We might have the attorney speak on that a little bit.
There are subdivisions within the city that do not extend to the water. And the water is not built exactly like it was supposed to be.
Well, the hurricane changed some of
And
this.
the hurricane may have changed that, but in some areas, you may have a 30-foot stretch between the back property line and the water
That the city.
that is city-owned.
So see, this goes back to this whole issue of issuing a permit, and a lot of these people cross city property to access a dock that is technically on city property. So in my view, the real simple thing, and Laura did a great job, I thought she gave us a super broad brush as to different municipalities. And the one that simply says, you can build and complete your dock before you complete the house, but the house has to be under construction. That means they've paid all their fees, their permits, everything's in place. To simply just change the classification so that someone can build a dock and maybe build a house in 5 years, I'm not worried.
Yeah.
And isn't that the goal of the council here? Isn't that what I'm hearing, is that we want to make sure we get a residence with the dock?
A primary structure.
Yeah, so is there wiggle room to do that?
So
Or not?
So I believe Alara has given us all those answers. So first, let me just lead with the fact, thank you for this report. It's really well done. She called 8 different cities in Florida to get their input, and they're half and half. So thanks. Because what I was looking for to this report was not only, well, what are other cities in Florida doing? But also I was looking for options of actual nuggets of wisdom that we can drop into our regulations, to Mr. Bush's point, right? There's some language cleanup that we can do here. But let's remember how this all started. The city was approached by a landowner on the canal. They said, we want to do this. We want to build a boathouse, which is an accessory structure, before our house, which is a primary structure. We can't do it. those are the people that came to the city. Mr. Kreese and Ms. Logan make a great point that, well, if you do it for them, why can't you do it for us? I think we should be consistent. I am totally supportive of matching what we're about to vote on for the property owners on the canal. And if the council agrees to proceed forward with these new regulations to allow an accessory structure with conditions before a primary structure, I see it would be unfair for us not to extend that to the rest of the citizens of Mexico Beach who don't live on the water. So let me just highlight a couple of things that Alara has in this report, and she mentioned a couple of them a few minutes ago. City of Bradenton Beach actually doesn't allow an accessory structure before a primary structure, but they've got something in here that I highlighted. It says an accessory structure cannot be used as a dwelling. I think even though they don't allow one before the other, why can't we just put that into our land development code? Because what don't we want in Mexico Beach? We don't want somebody to build a boathouse and then never build a primary structure and just live in the boathouse for the rest of their life, or just rent it out on the weekends. We don't want that. But if we put just this simple clause, cannot be used as a dwelling for a boathouse, boom, that use case is gone. Next one. City of Bradenton says, and Steve, this is what you mentioned a minute ago, but will withhold the final building permit certificates of completion for the boathouse until such time as the principal structure is under construction. Perfect, right? You can move in, but only when you start construction on the primary structure. And I would want clarification from probably the building department. What exactly does that mean? Do they have to start prepping the land, or do they have to pour concrete? Because I think once you pour concrete, you're committed. You can probably get, you can pretend I'm going to build a primary structure by site clearing, and oops, I changed my mind once I get my building permit. I think there's some work to do there on that we just need to narrow it down. There's another one. City of San Rafael says you cannot put an accessory structure on land which is unbuildable under their land development code. Boom, that's another check. No one's going to be able to live in a boat dock with no primary structure on the land. If we put something like this in here that says, well, you have to, it cannot violate the land development code. The land development code clearly says you have to have a primary structure. And then finally, there's another one here that says these accessory structures are permitted as an accessory conditional use, and then there's a whole list of bullet points of conditions that have to be made before we're allowed to build the accessory structure. So I think there's language in here that gives us what we as a council need to avoid the bad actors that we're all trying to avoid. And then period, full stop, let's vote on this. And then I'm 100% behind at a later meeting coming back and granting these privileges to the non-canal property owners.
I think the two should work together.
Jason had something to say real quick, I'm sorry.
Well, no, I was just, you did say when we had these prior discussions, I mean, we specifically said the one thing that when we were going to finish this ordinance in there, that you will not be able to live in this structure. It will not be a habitable, that was one of the items along with the setbacks and everything else.
We just have to find the right language to put in there to make sure that doesn't happen.
And I just wanted one last little, there is a lot of counties in here, a lot of them in the state, but I remember too, and I'm not trying to say, I don't know anybody that needs one of these things. Do I live on the canal? Yes. Has it been done before? Yes. When we brought this up several months back, Bay County, y'all remember Bay County's LDR. They do allow it. And not that we need to follow Bay County, but that's in our backyard. Just an idea,
Well,
but we need to be fair. I'm with you. I'll say it one more time. We need to relook it. If we're going to do it, I understand relooking at the rest of the city.
Okay, wait, 2 seconds. Go ahead, Steve.
I was just simply going to say that you can allow it in Bay County. Bay County's not dealing with a tiny little narrow canal that navigation, I brought it up before, no one's ever done. We should have some professional organization, I suggest the Coast Guard, look at the number of vessels, look at this situation in our canal, I know people have approached Sandy about building bigger docks to accommodate 45-foot boats, and look, I go in and out of that canal in my boat. And what we address right now is gonna have the impact for the future. There's no way to make that canal wider. And the more and more traffic you keep forcing in and out of it.
But the percentage is not, I don't wanna get into huge, but those percentages are already supposed to be in place. We have percentages that we are not supposed
I
to
understand
go
that.
further out in the canal.
I just don't want us to go down a rabbit hole looking only at the canal when I think we fix both problems with one stroke of the pen.
Okay, we got just one, you had one question. Or statement.
If you go back right after the hurricane, all the ordinances, that you changed it with RVs, that your house can't just, if I'm building a house, I can't just plow the lot down. I gotta have the lot plowed down, and my house has to be under construction. The concrete has to be poured. Now I can bring my RV in and live in it while my house is being built. Just like my pole barn and my workshop. I couldn't do anything until my house was built. Well, back then, Mel decided that pilings in the ground, $30,000 worth of pilings, wasn't even considering my house being built because the house wasn't under construction. So you already have that in there. So do the same thing on the water. All you gotta do is put all your permits in, get everything together. I already talked to Mel about that about 2 months ago. Make somebody come into you with every permit done, just like Steve said, ready to go, and all you have to do is get all that done. You started, you plowed your property down, you start building on your house, whatever that is, pouring the concrete, just like bringing your RV in. Now put your dock in, do whatever else you wanna do. Just make it like that, because otherwise you're gonna have people, just like you're saying, are gonna build a dock, put a boat there, never build a house.
Okay.
That stops it right there. You already have it for RVs, do it just like that.
Okay. Laura, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention Bay County's regulation, which I will say there's something missing here. I think they forgot to add a clause, but it says residential docks, piers, and boathouses will be allowed on undeveloped property without a primary use, provided that the dock is either exempt from or eligible for something, and the owner obtains a a notice general permit from the Florida DEP. So there's something that they've missed in the
Maybe the
language.
submerged lands, I mean, a lot of big,
Yeah.
that water over there is more of a.
Exempt, it has to be exempt from or eligible for something, and they didn't list what that was, but, so they do with a condition that
Mhm.
it qualifies for something.
Okay.
I have one comment.
Like,
Can I make a comment?
Just real quick, yeah.
Okay,
Not real quick.
okay,
Go ahead.
okay. But anyway, Canal Parkway, that canal is not the only canal that we need to be thinking of, right? Because Sweetwater's coming in, they're gonna develop a major canal. You know, we have, whatever decision we make at this table, we have to think how it affects the future as well. So if they come in with, how many lots do they have there, Mel? Do you recall? Anybody recall how many lots they have?
120.
Okay, so have they already requested to build boathouses first? Is that?
They're not requested anything.
Okay, okay. So let's say they wanna build, before they even sell the first lot, say they wanna build 120 boathouses. And say they sit there, say the property doesn't sell, then are they gonna think, well, maybe we'll just start renting them out? So we need to think of not just that Canal Parkway, but the future Canal Parkway and what can happen at Sweetwater.
I think we talked the last time we talked about Sweetwater, and they have a big task in front of them to build
And
docks,
beyond-
because they really, what is it, like a foot and a half deep right there? I mean, they got so much dredging.
Well, and honestly, I mean, I
Yeah.
live right across the street from Sweetwater. It would be bad for me to come in here and say when they start building, I don't want them over there. But you will never hear that.
Well, and I'm very concerned with Sweetwater, you're absolutely right. But I think if we put these basic constraints in that is in a large report, so even something as simple as you have to pour concrete on your primary structure, and then boom, you can get going. That, I mean, that's what we want, right? We don't want Sweetwater to build a bunch of boat docks and then just rent them out. Oops, sorry, we haven't sold the lot, but we're just gonna start renting them out. We don't want that. So I think what we're talking about is the actual language to put in the LDC to prevent that, but still allowing what we're about to vote.
And we have to be assured that it's going to be enforced as well.
Okay, based on everything I hear, I mean, I have to put this together to some degree, so let's get some consensus of which way we're gonna move.
LinkedIn has them, yeah.
Mayor, can I
It's-
just, you all
yeah,
raised
go ahead.
some legal questions. I did look at some of the local ordinances, Fort Walton Beach, Lynn Haven, and then Cape Coral. The two cities, Fort Walton Beach and Lynn Haven, do not allow the boat docks. But the issue that you raised, the legal issue, had to do with, can you prevent them from renting a boat dock if they build it and then they don't have a house? There's only one case that I found that tangentially allows the city to prevent the rental of a boathouse or boat dock without a primary structure. So there's not a lot of authority, but there is one that tangentially does allow that. And then the question is, can Mexico Beach limit the height of the boathouses? Certainly, it's in your canal, and you can certainly limit it under your LDC. So from a legal standpoint, those two issues that you raised, I did do the research and come up with answers for you on those. But what you have in front of you doesn't have all of these things you're talking about. And so if you want to include all of those things, then Laura and I need to bring back a different document than what's before you right now.
All right, thank you, appreciate that. Let me tell you what I wrote down, okay, what I heard from the council. And I always like to do this because I think that it's important that we get somewhere that we can move forward. We sometimes just kind of waddle and all this stuff and go back and forth. What I heard from the council is that we have to have a residence. Is that true? Then the only way that we can accommodate them building anything prior to the residence is to put a limitation of what is qualified as a resident, right? Whether it be footing, permits, or whatever it is. I think Rob mentioned that, you know, what is it? Is it 4 pylons have to be driven before it's, say you're gonna get it done? Is there a timetable you put on it? I agree that we have to sit down and we have to go over and write all that stuff down and say, how do we want to change this? But the ultimate goal is that we have to have a residence. So
Well,
Mayor?
so we should just leave it like it is.
you do one of the two. You do one of the two. You either leave it exactly like it is, and it has to be fully built, and then you go, or
Oh, I see what
you change it. There's some limitation, so you're allowing them to build from land or water, either way.
You know, I just think what Laura, the research that she has done, and so many cities are saying they want that primary structure completed before they build the boathouse. I think that says a lot.
I think you hear both from both sides. But you
Yeah,
have
but the
somebody that's,
majority, it seemed like that was the case.
Well,
Never said completed, just start. Just start.
Just start.
Not completed, just
a
start.
commitment.
a commitment. I mean, do you say, you know, the primary structure has to be in what we consider in the building trade, dried in condition? I mean, I don't know, I'm not really advocating one way or the other on that, but I think you have to be definitive. And I also frankly, and this goes back to a lot of the discussions I've heard from people in the audience and walking around town and talking to people, is a lot of people in town are frustrated with these houses that are in different states of construction 7 years past the hurricane. And we've done nothing really to address. Right now, I guess it's, if I start a house today, I've got however long I want to take to finish it, whether that be 5 or 10 years, or if I never finish it, it seems to be okay. I just think we really need to drive a nail in this one, and either, to Jason's point, don't change a thing, or we're gonna have to make the language pretty daggone concrete that a house has gotta be at this state before you can build a pole barn or a boat dock or put a storage building. I just know in my personal experience, when we were building our house and I wanted to do a similar thing, I bought a pre-built storage building and wanted to put it on property so I could get some of my stuff out of storage because it was expensive. And they said, when your house is like, the people in the building department said 85% complete or something. Well, that's pretty far along. So we waited and brought it in when the house was 85% complete. So,
Other council want to move forward? Do we want to task P&Z to,
No,
No.
they've overwhelmingly and unanimously rejected this entire idea twice.
3 times.
3 times, excuse me.
I guess I'm in favor of leaving it the way it is.
you want it with a modification? No?
No, just leave it the way it is.
So-
I hear you, Ms. Compton, I hear you.
If we leave it the way it is, then the folks across town, 95% of which don't live on the canal, are stuck with what they have right now, which is can't build a pole barn and put your houses up. Is that what we want?
It should be under construction, like you changed your mobile home thing, I mean, not mobile home, but the RV. It says the foundation has to be poured, be it like a foundation or pilings. That's starting your house construction. Then you can do whatever you want.
well, not technically, not to interrupt Eric, but we did away with the RV thing a certain period of time after the hurricane. Now you can't do that.
So I hear you. I want, unfortunately, we can't go back in time and fix your problems from 7, 8, 10 years ago, but we can fix people in your situation who don't live on the canal going forward. We don't have one of those proposals on the table today. What we do have is proposals on the table for the waterfront properties. And I think, well, I don't want to speak for the council. My opinion is that we're trying, me personally, I'm trying to find a way to allow an accessory structure before the primary structure, because it's so costly and time consuming to build a boat dock after you built your house. That it's clear that the property owners want this and they've asked the council to consider it. So if we put in sufficient safeguards that we now have examples of from other cities in Florida, thanks to a large report, I believe we can get what we want, which is to prevent the bad actors from being able to build a boathouse and live in it perpetually without putting a house on it. If we put that language into the LDC, then I see no reason why we can't approve the motion on the table today and then make a commitment as a council to extend the same privileges in future meetings soon, in the next couple of months, to the rest of the residents around town that don't have waterfront property.
I would think the ordinance could simply address it all. I don't think it needs to be specific to waterfront property. I think that's a delineation that doesn't even need to exist.
If that's how we choose to proceed, to make changes to the ordinance so that it covers everybody, 100% of Mexico Beach, great.
And y'all are saying it needs to be at some point of the construction process needs to be started, is what we're coming
So
up
Foundation.
that's what I would like clarification on from probably the building department is, and I'm just throwing this out as an idea. You have to pour concrete. That's just my proposal. Is that reasonable? Could it be before that? Does it need to be after that?
That's an
I
interesting
don't know.
thing, because if they have to pour concrete, whether it be on pilings or a stem wall or whatever,
Foundation.
that means they're gonna have to do their rough-in plumbing and stuff too, so that's gonna show a commitment.
And if they do that, if it's just concrete in their way, can they still get the heavy equipment or out back to build their pole barn? I think the answer is yes.
But are we saying that they're able to build that accessory structure prior to the concrete being poured?
No,
and then
prior to
it's-
completion.
And then the building permit would be released after you're at a concrete pouring stage?
No.
Great questions. I don't have the
Because
answer.
if you're talking about being able to get equipment around a house to be able to build a board, you're kind of losing that with pouring the
I
concrete.
agree. I just threw that out as a notion.
I think the concrete and the foundation from a standpoint of a builder you can still maneuver enough, it's when you get
Walls and roofs.
everything else, and the way it reads is pretty much your house has to be, well, you can't have an accessory structure till the house is done, they might have told you 85%. The way I understand it, it's gotta be done before you do it. And then you create, well, you got a house here, you've probably done landscaping, because you gotta have landscaping to get a permit, to get the CO on the house.
So just so I'm aware, then the accessory structure could not be initiated until you have the concrete poured.
That could be one of the
That's
suggestions.
one of the suggestions. The other
Maybe it's
suggestion,
just formed, or maybe it's just dug or flattened. I mean,
the other suggestion is regardless of what the structure, or what the status of the structure is. I like what Bradenton Beach said, and they don't even allow accessory structures before a primary residence. But I like what they said here. Cannot be used as a dwelling, period.
Oh,
No.
well, that's gotta be it.
Well,
So that's-
yeah.
That's easy.
it's already in there.
So what happens if they pour the concrete, go build their pole barn, boat
And then
house,
stop.
and then stop?
See,
What is your idea of a remedy at that point?
Well, I mean, there again,
Well, if they allow permits to expire, and this is another whole nother thing. If you allow permits to expire and you go into another building code cycle, you could get caught up in some, if the building code changed, you could get it caught up into having, it is to your advantage to go build your house when you start the permit cycle, because you don't know what's gonna.
I understand the advantage. My question though is, what if they don't? Then what's your remedy?
My first answer to that, sorry to answer a question with a question, but if they were to do that today, the way our LDC is written today, what would happen? What's the-
Well, that's why I'm bringing this up, because I'm thinking about your comment of, you got 7-year-old buildings that are not completed. You need to think about a remedy that would apply not just to the pole
and
barn boat
what
house.
remedy
but-
would be at the disposal of the city then?
Correct.
You know, how do we fix it?
And again, what do we have today? We've got a house near Miss Hamilton, a couple blocks away, that she's been repeatedly bringing up. It's taken 7 years to build.
I mean, I've got one
How
across
do
the
we
street,
speed
it's a
them up?
perpetual permit, but then you get into some other legal, that's something you gotta go through with the building department enforcing the permit process when it expires. We don't have anything in place when your permit expires, what to do with it. It's the same, because
That's
we
why I'm
have
bringing
what I
this
call
up for y'all to
perpetual
think
building
about.
permits,
I
but
think-
we're talking about.
I think what Mr. Sloan's bringing up is a very valid point. If we start changing wording and stuff and allowing it at some early level of construction, right now, it's just a simple no. And, we've all had to deal with pretty much the simple no. If it's not broken, why fix it?
All right, do we want to try to accommodate, or we want to leave the ordinance the way it is?
Well,
Sounds like we want to maybe modify it, but we don't know how.
I don't know, we had a first reading, I thought we were moving forward with it, but there has been some.
As did I.
So, there's been a report that's been produced, there's been questions, and also, before we move on any ordinance, I want all the, like you said, you can't sleep there, you got the height, you got setbacks, you got all these other things that we were talking about that they need to be put in there anyway on these boat structures. There's nothing there that says anything about that. So we've gotta do some work.
And I think a large report has half of what we need. At least ideas from other cities is what they've done with setbacks. There was a marine environment exclusion, and there was certain setbacks that she alluded to for certain cities were allowing it or not allowing it. So yes, we have more work to do.
Personally, with Steve, I think if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think there's too many loopholes. And I'm thinking of one particular lot, now that I'm out walking my dogs again, that probably well before the storm, these people were supposed to build a house on this lot. Instead, they built a garage. Okay, so now all of a sudden, they're attaching what looks like a house, I guess, to the garage. But they got by with that. They slipped through the cracks. I remember attending the meeting when that current mayor said, we got fooled by this one. You know, so this allows too many loopholes here if we change that. I think
Well,
we should keep it the same.
I'm not sure I agree. If we've got loopholes to be closed, then let's close the loopholes while we're doing this.
But we have to make sure that it gets enforced when that happens.
Okay, well, enforcement's different. This is a legislative
And
decision.
then set the rules first.
Yeah. We gotta set the rules first, and then it's a valid point that rules need to be enforced, I agree.
All right, so we don't have the answer of how we want to change it. Do we want to change it? Is that the consensus?
Well-
I hear from Steve, he doesn't want to, I think, and
Correct.
you don't want to.
No.
Well, I don't want
I
to
don't
change it,
know.
but I do, my colleagues on the other side over there, and especially you, Jason, we do need to legislate these structures as to size, height. Right now, there's nothing. You know, it's just to the interpretation of they build the dock to suit the boat, right? I mean,
Yeah, well, I want to find a way for all 100% of Mexico Beach residents to build an accessory structure before a primary structure with significant conditions such that they have too much skin in the game to change their mind and not build their house. That's what I want, for everybody, whether they live on the canal or they don't.
I just think, Eric, to do that, you're gonna have to require it be at a very advanced stage of construction.
Yep.
I think some of these other cities have done that, and duly noted. So, and some of them revisited it after a long period of time and are doing it. So I think that we could come up with something, but I think just keep going with the same ordinance is not the answer, because walk the canal, guys, look what's going on. See how many boathouses there are that are built and there's no primary structure. See, I mean,
And why would that be?
something's been going on over
Yeah.
the years.
And why would that be? Because something wasn't enforced? Why would that be?
I can't answer.
I mean, it goes back way back.
I think it's a variety of reasons why there's so many.
Yeah, I think we need to address it, but if we're gonna address it from the standpoint of when it can happen, it doesn't have, it should not be separated from Rock's accessory structure during his construction process.
And I'm 100%, I think people should be, you know, and it can be grouped together. We can keep it as an accessory structure. We don't have to change the name of it. And come up with the guidelines to let them do it at some point, whether it's on an interior lot, on a canal lot, wherever. There's gotta be some easy way. I mean, we're kinda getting off, I say easy. Put the parameters in place.
All right, let's, obviously, is it okay if we table this and move on to the next thing? Because we need to, it sounds like we have a consensus, a majority consensus that probably want to modify it to allow it, but stay with the rules of primary resident and accessory structure built. Primary structure has to be built, I got that. And I think the council's got that. So are there other ways that we can move? And I think there is. I think we need to table it and bring it back up maybe in the next couple of weeks or so. But it's not something we're gonna solve today. Is that true? Okay. I think we'll go ahead and all of us should talk to city administrator, see if we can get some information from BPCI as far as what they would say is a structure, how far it's gotta go before we,
Well, and Mayor, I just need to know, are you wanting to broaden it, as Mr. Cox is saying, or do you want to stay focused just on boathouses? If you're broadening it, then you're probably exceeding the non-substantial changes to 876. So if you're looking for a bigger picture, then 876 would not be adopted. We'd bring back a different index number that would have a broader.
I think you're looking at broader, I think we're trying to answer it for everybody.
I agree, and, I mean, I don't think it's wise for us to do nothing, because we've all pointed out so many loopholes and backdoor things today that we want to close, so we have to do something.
Okay? We're gonna ahead and do that motion.
Do we
table
have a
it.
motion to deny that ordinance?
Well, they would just never make a motion to adopt. so it dies.
They don't have to adopt what changes or deny an ordinance.
Well, technically, if they never adopted it, it doesn't come into being. So
Still
if they don't want to adopt 876 in its current form, then you just wouldn't adopt it.
Just do not.
Okay. All right, then we just make a motion to table it.
Well, not just,
For action.
actually, if you want some motion, you're not just tabling it, Mayor, you're actually denying the adoption so that we can then start on a bigger.
Start
Okay.
on it.
Bigger scope, okay.
All right, I make a motion that we deny ordinance 876.
I'll second
Motion second, take a roll, please.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
it. Yes.
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
So we're, can I discuss, we're denying this to bring it back in a different
We're just
form?
denying it to kill it.
Rather than just addressing the boathouses.
Instead.
Okay, yeah, yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes.
Hold on, if you, bigger picture.
Yeah. I understand.
All right, ordinance 880, amend the future land use element to allow single-family homes, dwellings being constructed.
Yes, this is the second and final hearing, the reading for the ordinance to amend the comprehensive plan, future land use element. Two policies. The first is 1.8.5 Part B, which simply changes the addition reference to the Institute of Traffic Engineers Drip Generation Manual to the most recent edition. And the second is to amend policy 1.8.8, creating policy 1.8.8 regarding the development of non-conforming legally recorded lots created prior to May 21st, 1991, to allow them to be developed without having to meet the density requirements, since they were already created and approved prior to any regulation we had regarding lot size or density. And then subsequently renumbering the policies towards the end of that element to correspond with the new numbers. So the process here is that this went to the state. The state came back and submitted a letter to us. We received that early this month. They had no objections, which means you're able to go ahead and continue on and adopt the ordinance. Once you adopt this, there's a 31-day period before it becomes effective. That is a challenge period for anyone who might want to challenge your decision. And then at the time you adopt, we go ahead and forward the packet back to the state so they have a copy of the final adopted version.
Okay, do we have a motion to read by title only, ordinance 880?
I'll make a motion that we read ordinance 880 by title only.
Can we take the roll, please?
Mr.
Oh, second.
Oh, second.
Okay. Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes.
Ordinance 880, an ordinance amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the city of Mexico Beach, specifically to clarify the applicable version of the Trip Generation Manual and to allow at least a single-family dwelling to be constructed on any certain non-conforming legally recorded lot without being limited by existing density conditions, providing for a file copy of the comprehensive plan, providing a repealer for severability and for correction of Scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date.
Ready to open the public, any comment on the 880, ordinance 880?
Rob Crease, MB. I just want to say, I couldn't imagine family owning property for years and years and years, you're paying taxes on it, and all of a sudden somebody tells you you can't build a house on it. I just can't imagine that. I mean, this has to be approved. It was just so unfair to have that happen to somebody.
Any other comment? I move to the table.
Okay, my concern is the part about, limiting, okay, they don't have to worry about existing density provisions. So what can of worms does that open? How does that affect the property that could possibly be next to that?
There's still setbacks that they have to follow, right?
Okay, but once again, we're saying to be constructed on any non-conforming legally recorded lot without being limited by existing density provisions. Does that, density provisions. So is that opening up, we always have to think of the future and how any decision we make at this table and how that opens up a can of worms to something else. What else could that affect? How else does that affect the property that's next to it? There's a lot, to me, that's very controversial to put that in there, you know, that they don't have to worry about the density provisions. When that's a big thing in the city.
Isn't the decision based on the current map?
So again, these lots would have been created in 1991, so it's not something that can happen today. So somebody who created a lot before there was a rule, before the city had a rule, before the city had a parameter of what you could create, they went out and recorded it and as a lot they wanted to put a home on. And so, you know, the city was platted in the 1950s, in the mid-1950s. There are a lot of platted lots out there that might be, you might have 3 lots like we had recently, 3 lots on one parcel, and then maybe they want to go back to each of the 3 lots. So that's how it was platted, and that's what they were approved for back when it was platted. So this is allowing them to put a house on each one of those platted lots. So it's not somebody that can today can go out and create a lot that's not going to meet the density. It's somebody who did that back in 1991 or prior to that.
So the number of properties that this affects, if we adopt this today, is really small. It's only ones that were platted before 1991, right?
Any
Well,
lot created before now,
created,
it doesn't have to be
yeah,
platted.
right.
Lots created before 91.
Right, but there are some lots out there, especially towards the east end, that are platted lots, but there's one parcel that encompasses more than one platted lot. So they could, essentially, if they had a house on it and they wanted to tear it down and build 3 houses, if there's 3 lots there, they could.
Yeah, and it was legally platted.
Yes.
At some, yeah, and that's what we were addressing, because there are people, the density trips them up, but as far as the density goes, it's only one per lot.
Per lot.
Per lot.
And they still have to follow the setbacks, which
Yes.
And the impervious and all of that
Which-
stuff.
Right.
which is what their neighbors should care about.
Right.
Well, that and height, I mean, those
They
restrictions
still
don't-
fall under all the other parameters of the land development regulations.
It's not somebody's gonna buy a lot and cut it up 10 times.
Right.
So in this particular case, how many lots are you talking about and what's the size of the lot?
I did not do that analysis. That would take some time.
But this was specifically brought up for those lots being built on Second Street.
First Street, and
So
then.
there were some existing.
And then we've got some
There was a-
existing townhome lots
16 by
that
100.
fell into this, and
Because,
I wasn't here, but we specifically put rules in place to allow the townhomes to be built back,
Even though they didn't meet density.
even though they didn't meet density, and this is covering those little pieces
Right,
around.
which we want those townhomes to be rebuilt. That's why we created the townhome district. But we didn't clean up the density calculation, so this solves that, right?
Yeah, I think too, there are some cases where when the future land use map was created back in the day, maybe there wasn't an analysis that really looked at what was on the ground and built. So that when the future land use map was created, it didn't really relate to the practicality of what was there, and there might be some lots there. There are some lots there that would currently exceed the density of the future land use category. So you could argue that the city imposed that hardship when they created the future land use map and not looking at what was actually platted.
Any other questions? We have a motion to move forward on? 880?
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 880.
I'll second.
Motion and second.
Mr. Fasani?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
No.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes.
Can I have a quick question for everyone?
This does not have to go back. Somebody had asked, the state has done their part.
That's correct.
The letter we got, this does not have to
We
go
just have to
back.
file it. It's a
You
formality.
just have to file this
We have to
formality.
send it back as a,
So
with
people
the,
can-
with the signed
this is
ordinance,
fast.
yeah.
But it doesn't take
There's
effect
31
until
days.
31 days.
We send that
31,
right
that's
away.
it, yeah.
But there's effective
Or
date.
until somebody
31
files
days.
a case against it and that's resolved.
So 31 days, people have to wait.
We're gonna send it in right away.
Yes.
But there is a 31-day appeal.
Okay, that's what I
period.
was.
Mhm.
Correct.
Okay. Before we move on to 881 here, we're gonna take a short 5-minute break.
All right.
Okay?
Once I go vertical, I can come and live in my own. That's it. So
Yeah. Okay, we're back to order. Next thing on the agenda is ordinance 881, sanitation. And talk to the attorney a little bit about this, and we're okay if we want to discuss this and not have to read it. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You can have a discussion and then determine whether or not you want to have the second reading.
All right, so if that's okay with council, I'd rather not go ahead and have to go through that process of reading the ordinance if we get and jump right into open the public. Is that good?
Yeah, just, real quick, just, we're kind of under the gun to, obviously, and we need to take our time. Because this, when can we get this back with the cans coming? I know we wanted an ordinance to do the cans.
Well, originally, the cans are gonna be coming next week.
Okay.
However, they've been postponed 1 week? Or
We don't know, they're looking at 2-week maybe postponement because of the weather and their production facilities are raging behind, so we kind of.
It'll work.
It'll work.
If we come back on the
The
February 10th meeting, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started here, and we'll go, we'll move on to motion to read by title only, and get and move on to open to the public for sanitation.
Adrian Welly, 1008 15th Street. I'm going to talk about 3 topics. The first one's going to be the certain multifamily residential areas with dumpsters at the discretion of the city. I know that's old language, and I know when we got into doing this ordinance, the whole plan was to talk about going to 96-gallon cans and then increasing a fee to offset that. Now's the time to revisit that part. If we're going to increase the fee to pay for cans that the 3 neighborhoods on 15th Street aren't going to get, Sea Pines, The Palms, Palmetto, who have a community dumpster, now's the time to look at moving them to the same structure as other condominiums in town. Waterside Village, for example, has 2 dumpsters. They pay $302.04 for each, $604.08 a month. The club, Paradise Shores, both have 1 dumpster in off-season, and they add a second, so they're at $302. But let's just assume they have 2 all year, so they're paying $7,248 a year for 2 dumpsters. Palmetto,
Are you saying that you're thinking about maybe moving to not having the residents pay individually and have the HOA take it over?
yes, on those 3.
Why didn't they do that years ago?
Because your ordinance says at the discretion of the city, you'll decide whether or not they'll do that.
Okay.
And for some reason, the city chose to pick the 3 lowest value neighborhoods in town to do it to. Palmetto Plantation, condominium building, 40 units, $19,200 a year compared to $7,200 a year for a 51-unit condominium. That's $12,000 a year more those residents are paying. And I think the intent also was to offset, for vacation rentals. The Palms is the only of the 3 that allows vacation rentals. Palmetto Plantation does not. Sea Pines does not. The second part of the ordinance that I would like the council to look at and review is the long-term rentals. I assume this is an oversight. Maybe I'm wrong, but it says long-term rentals will have 2 trash cans. There's no long-term rental using more trash than any full-time resident in this room. They're your neighbors. They're the people that live next door to you full-time. They don't have more trash than a normal residential user. So I think that's probably a mistake. Maybe it's not. They're also not licensed, so I don't know how you're going to track who's a long-term renter and figure out how to do that. And the last one is the homestead property exemption for the concierge service, which is a wonderful gesture. I think it's great, but trash is a business. It is an enterprise fund. It's not a taxpayer-funded organization. You're running a business. As a business, why exempt the full-time user who's here year-round, causing the burden on the system from paying the fee that you're trying to create to offset the cost of the labor? Further, by not including weekend warriors, I call them, our weekend homeowners, our vacation renters, our other people here in the concierge service, you and I, the resident that live here, look at those cans because they're not going to pay to have them brought back to their house. So we're the ones that are going to suffer by looking at them. And lastly, back on the long-term renter versus Short-term renter, it falls back into the Palms, Sea Pines, and Palmetto. Are they also gonna pay the residential rate plus the additional fee if they're a long-term renter and still just have to work with the dumpster? I think that's an easy one to fix, if we can just look at 15th Street and the 3 subdivisions there and move them to the dumpster system.
Go over that last one again, one more time.
Sea Pines,
Yeah.
Palms,
Was that? Yeah.
the Palms and Palmetto Plantation.
Okay.
And I do not represent Sea Pines, I'm the management company for the Palmetto and the Palms, just so you're aware, but I know they're in that same situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa Logan. When this started several months ago, I thought that y'all had decided that you were going to bring in the 96 gallon cans and see how it affected everything. And you agreed that you were just going to leave everything else the same and see if the 96 gallon cans helped alleviate the trash problem primarily at the short-term rentals. And you were going to collect the information for a year. Now you're going down multiple rabbit holes, it seems like, here, without even collecting any of this data that you said you wanted to collect. So why can't you stick to your original thoughts, your original plan, get these cans out? You will have very shortly spring break, then you'll go into summer season, then you'll have the fall pause, and then you'll have the winter holiday season, and that will give you the data you need to see what's happening. Don't change fees, don't change service, keep everything exactly the same. Make this a little bit simpler than you've got going right now, and get your year's worth of data before you start jumping through all these hoops.
Any other comments from the public?
Rock Crease MB, I just want to say thank you. You listened to me a couple weeks ago when I asked you about picking up grass. So you changed that ordinance thing, you put in there, you could go in bags and move that around, so I appreciate that.
Any other comments from the public? Go ahead and close the public. Move to the table. Any discussion at the table?
Yeah, let me address one of Mr. Welly's concerns. I am not for charging condo owners that have a dumpster an extra $5 a month for the cans that they don't even use, so I think that's an easy fix. I'm supportive of treating all the multifamily units and condo associations the same if they've got the dumpsters. They don't need to be charged for the cans. So that's number one.
Well, I think what he's actually saying is, right now, the way that it's set up is they're treated as customers.
They're paying the individual.
They pay the individual rate.
Trash fee too, not just the.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be.
And they should not be, absolutely, not when they're paying for 2 cans that cost less than $1,000, and we're making 2,000.
Right. Yeah, so that's number one. Number two, I know a lot of residents are upset about the forced mandatory 2-can minimum for rentals, and so I discussed my concerns with Mel yesterday. I think there's room for us to consider requirement for just 1 can, and then we just kind of wait throughout the year, to Ms. Logan's point. We need a year's worth of data to know who's using their cans, who's not using their cans. Do they go up by season? Is seasonal a thing? Seasonal is a thing for some of our renters, seasonal is not a thing for some of our renters. I think if we change the requirement for rentals from 2 cans down to 1, a number of residents have emailed us here at the council over the last 72 hours, and some of them have said, I don't use 2 cans. We're not short-term renters, we're long-term renters. Why do I have to pay for the second can? Valid point. Others have said, Well, we only use 2 cans during our short-term rental season, which is only a couple of weeks here, a couple of weeks there, maybe total throughout the year, 10 or 12 weeks, not all 52 weeks that they would use the second can. So I could envision a scenario where if they overflow their first can during those high peak weeks, they're just gonna start stacking up trash bags next to the full can. Well, they're gonna get charged a $10 fee every time there's a bag of trash outside the can. So that's gonna add up, and the owners themselves are gonna be the ones to tell us, I need a second can. If they keep having a charge from the city, $10 a week, $10 a week, $10 a week. I'm looking for a way for the city to have to monitor this less, and the residents monitor their own pocketbooks from month to month, saying, oh, you know what, I can handle a $10 fee once, but if it happens 2, 3, 4 times in a row, then maybe those city folks were right, and I really do need a second can. So that's an idea that I have.
I'm thinking the best resource person or people are the sanitation workers. They're the ones out there, they go to the rentals and they see trash lined up all over the street. The bears have gotten in it and they offer the courtesy themselves of picking it up no matter where the trash ended.
So that gets to the
So
concierge.
when they're thinking rentals need 2 cans, that's what they need. Because if that happens and they're having to do that all the time, and you know, where they have injuries and everything else because we're overworking them so hard, you know, I think they're the best resources to tap into as to whether or not they think we need 2 for these rentals.
Okay, I'm gonna offer some pushback on the idea that, number one, our sanitation workers do one heck of a job. And number two, to put the responsibility on them to take pictures, to then administratively have to put fines in. We sat and debated this whole sanitation thing over and over and over. And we came to this because our neighbors right down the street do that. If you're a rental unit, you're mandated to have 2 cans. Furthermore, what we're talking about here is $15. If you do the math, for the second can, it costs the person that owns the rental $240 more per year. $5 for the extra fee, and $15 for a can. You do that math, it's $240 for a year. So our trash guys don't have to clean up as much bear trash, so the city looks better. I mean, trash day in this city is 4 days a week. And in the summer, it really is 5 days a week. And anything we can do to contain the trash, I mean, I'll let Sam chime in here, is a good thing.
If they start overflowing and you're gonna go by and say, well, they need an extra can because they're throwing extra bags out there, that's not gonna fly. And bears and everything else are gonna pick that up while it's sitting outside. Well, then now they need a second can. Well, how long before they get a second can? Why not have 2 cans and be done with it?
And
trash is contained.
And yeah, bears are still gonna turn trash cans over.
Absolutely.
But
Just
it's an insignificant amount of money when even if you only rent 3 months out of the year, an extra $240 spent over a 12-month.
And actually, the person who owns the property and making money off of the renters, they can pass that cost on to their people that are renting.
Yeah, they can add it to their tenants, I mean.
Good, Jason.
My few comments here. One, we'll address Mr. Willis. I definitely think we need to get these condominiums straightened out. I think it was in there, what is it, 1 dumpster per 16, 18?
18. One correct.
So, they should be paying I know it was in the ordinance. It was probably done back in the early 2000s when all this development was coming on. They were doing different things. Let's get that straight. Obviously, the short-term or the long-term rentals it slipped through the cracks. I'm glad it came up now. They don't need 2 cans. Back, and then moving to I think what really stirred everything is, one, we did talk through this and we said the rental units were gonna get 2 cans. we've sat here and we agreed. And I know the emails have came in, I've seen it. But I've also, I do business, I know, I'm not saying nobody else is out there, I'm down these streets a lot, and I've seen the amount of trash, I mean, and I think I want the citizens, I want everybody to know, we're doing these things to try to keep trash in-house, to try to keep the level of service, because y'all, we know, we definitely know, we sat through budget, and, you know, sanitation's in the red.
Right.
So these were our implements to say, hey, you know, let's start, you know, obviously we had to cover the can costs. I know that was talked about here, the $5. People have still asked about that. And I remember us talking, we don't know at the end of this cycle, as we're watching this, it was under my impression we may be able to not continue with the 5. Heck, we may still be in the red and the rates have to go up. We may have to do all kinds of stuff. But we agreed, you know, I'm for the rental properties starting out with the 2 cans. If, hopefully we can regulate it. You know, and then as if there's more trash, get more, you know, they can purchase another can. That's kind of where we're at with it. But the, I think one of the big things, and I'm just moving on, is this concierge service and this additional $10 a month. I was under the impression, and at the last meeting, we talked about it, that, as Lisa said, or we thought we had agreed, that let's leave things, we're already at the top of the spectrum on charges at the $40. If you look in the, I tried to dig around for that rate sheet, could not find it from the one we have. But we were already, that's where I was at. We're at that. We should be providing that. And also with that, so we're gonna leave it the same. I don't think we should charge anybody another $10. Plus, we need to, I want our guys right now to go back there and roll the can out and put it back, because I don't want to worry about a bunch of cans strewed all over the city. You know, I want it to be, hey, we got it, we're taking it back. And it's just, until we can get a handle on this, what this, you know, this sanitation department, where we're gonna be with it, I just think we need to move, for the sake of things, I mean, this got in here, I didn't know how it got in here, but it's in here, I guess for our discussion, but we discussed it last time. I thought we kind of were moving on with, let's get this thing rolled out. And the idea of, you know, the residents having, just because you're homesteaded, you get this free service. Well, I also said at the meetings, maybe when all this shakes out, I take mine to the curb every day. And people have said it here. Maybe we can reduce people's rates instead of, because one, we're making an exemption for, it's almost like we're picking winners and losers, if that's the way I would say it. Like, you live here, we're gonna do it, but, you know, also, well, you said, Steve, not to get on, the guy that comes down here, he doesn't even own a rental. The person, not guy, I don't wanna use that, anybody, it's their vacation, it's their second home, and they come down and they may leave on a Thursday or Friday. And they don't go for they're gonna roll the can to the road, it's gonna sit there for 3 or 4 days until it's picked up. And then
who's gonna roll it back?
Who's gonna take it back? And why are we, like I said, I just think we're at, even for the rental units, I know this was, the concierge may be more adapted. I think the rental units do want us to come get their stuff, but it puts them in the $60-something range a month. By the time they get the extra can and then pay the $10, I mean, it's like, and believe me, at first, I know at the budget meeting, shut up, we talked about outsourcing too. I'll give you my opinion. I want it to stay. Because we have so much other stuff, the beef. I've never thought we could totally get rid of sanitation because of what we'll have to do something. So if we can make this work and be reasonable on our fees, then we move on. But like I said, the mayor, when he started, he said, you know, hey, we're going to discuss, and that's I definitely want that out there. I wanna address the long-term rentals and obviously we might as well get these condos cleaned up.
Yeah.
As we-
I do, yeah, I didn't bring up long-term versus short-term rentals. I'm totally on board with finding a way to separate the two, because our long-term rentals are essentially our full-time.
How many long-term rentals do we have now? I mean, isn't that somewhat a thing of the past, or do
So-
we still have a lot of long-term?
I think that's the problem. We don't have a good way of determining that number.
No,
Yeah.
And CDP.
Not long-term.
Share the
They
information.
won't share that information.
I don't even know if we're gonna be able to follow short-term, that's gonna be in itself, but we're trying to get a handle on where the trash is coming from and who's producing
And I think we're all in agreement to fix the things that are easy to fix, the condos, you know. I'm with you, you know, the extra $10 and trying to delineate who's full-time, who's homesteaded, who's not. A lot of us push our cans out, and like, I've been living over here, you know, the guys wouldn't even know where to take a can if I took a can out there, you know, so I think we trust our guys to do the job, and they know where the cans need to be pushed back to, right? So, and the $10 charge, at face value, we're all wanting to get our sanitation department in the black. And we won't, to Ms. Logan's point, we won't know where that mark gets hit until the end of the year.
And I'm okay with, I don't even need my rate to be reduced, even in the future, if it works out. But when you say, I'm gonna charge $10 for this, then I'm gonna step up and say, well, I take it out, even though I'm homesteaded, I want a discount. I mean, that's what, you know, it's hard, I think the bottom line is we need to let this thing roll out, we need to get Tim to straighten it out. And we need to get this thing, and we need to get these cans out.
Exactly.
And try and stick to
Because
where we were at in the beginning.
I think what the large majority of the public, because I've been asked the question a lot, why? Well, the two reasons for the big cans. Clean the city up and make it not look so bad on trash day is one, but number two, and more importantly, is they don't even understand the workers' comp injuries our trash guys have had as a result of lifting cans and all, because the truck won't dump the can. So it was out of necessity as much as anything. It was not just, we're gonna ramrod 96-gallon cans now. That's the kind of can that the truck will dump.
No, we did it for a reason, that's right,
Exactly,
we did to reduce cost, and, I mean, I remember, I have some notes from our budget, and I remember we even cut, hiring some employees,
Exactly.
you know, based on that. And then we had some savings versus leasing versus buying. You know,
Exactly.
so we wanted to reduce that cost, and I think we made an effort to do that. HOA, I'm all over this HOA thing, I mean, let the HOA pay it. I mean, I don't think they should have to pay an individual. I'm all for that.
If I could address that, please.
Yes, sir, jump in.
That paragraph that Adrian alluded to earlier is on page 6 and 7, paragraph 5. It does say exactly what he said earlier, but the language we would have to change where it says the residential users will pay the standard residential collection rate per unit, but use the dumpster to deposit their trash, garbage, and refuse. So we need to change that to where either the HOA pays the fee directly, or I spoke with Vanessa earlier this morning, and we can create different categories of trash so that in lieu of the HOA having to pay the $604.09 per month, it could be divided among the 20, 30, 40, whatever, and just have them keep it on their regular water bills.
Is it?
HOA.
Well, Mrs. Attorney, yeah, I don't.
We don't have to
I don't like that.
Either way, I don't know, yeah. What, and to the dumpsters, you said, you briefly mentioned, this is just a question, that you had one, what was it, Palmetto Plantation that they remove one at some point and bring it back. I mean, if we go with this, it's like, if you're supposed to have 3, you're gonna get 3 dumpsters and there are gonna be 3 dumpsters there, not.
So the club, you know, we only have 1 and then they bring in 2 in season. But we pay the additional for the second one in season, but we are not required to have. That's a different ordinance than that, or a different part of the section than where we just were talking. That's a condominium.
That would be kind of a nightmare for Vanessa too, because
Yeah.
then when that dumpster's there, then she has to go and change the rate for every customer that's there.
Yeah, I
And if
just.
So
that
I would
doesn't
really
get
stick with
done,
the
then she'd
HOA.
have to change it
No,
back.
but I think the dumpsters, if we're gonna charge, it's just like charging the 2 cans. If they need to pay for 3 dumpsters year round, they can ask us to come move, I guess, bring them to the yard, but we're not gonna reduce the rate.
And you have another issue where some of these condos do the extra dumps in the summer. And that would be the ones on 98, the big ones, you know, you have extra dumps, so then they bring in an extra dumpster to pay the extra dumpster fee instead of the extra dump fee.
So, yeah, I don't wanna create any more work for Vanessa. I think it's an easy win for us to just have these 3 condos just go to the dumpster model. But my question is for the club, and I believe it's for Paradise Shores, they also have a seasonal extra dumpster. Just during the summer. So how does Vanessa do it then? When there's an extra dumpster?
She just adds an additional fee when they go out and do an extra dump.
Yeah, so would you set up the same thing for these 3 new condos?
So it'd be easier to do it just once for each unit than for each complex, than to have to do it for each individual unit.
But I think what we're missing here is the properties that Adrian's talking about.
We don't fluctuate dumpsters,
It's always gonna be 1 or 2.
Yeah, it's
whatever.
always.
But not to go too far down the hole, if the unit complex that says 18 units has to have 1 dumpster per 18 units. So if the club is 36 units, they're required to have 2 dumpsters.
But that's just
all
a
year.
requirement.
So that's like, if we don't follow
The
the rules, that's like the man over there with the rental house that says, we all got the email, I only rent it 90 days out of the year, I don't want this extra can for so many times. We're not giving them that option, nor do I think we do, so we need to be
The
fair.
club ought to be paying for 2 dumpsters.
I think the 18's written in there so
Yeah.
that you get at least 1. If you have
But-
36, you have to have 2.
Exactly.
So I think we just leave that up to
We
them.
just don't need to be
If they want
taking
1 or
it
2.
and just charging a dump fee just when they need it. That's we're being too, once again, we need to be fair for everybody. And if the
Well,
rules say
it's as simple as,
there,
it's as simple as this, whether it's a single-family home or a multi-unit building. There's tons of people who have second homes here that pay the trash fee year-round, and they'll go 2 and 3 months, and the trash guys never have to pick up trash because nobody's there. It's the same deal for the multi-unit buildings. You need 2 dumpsters by the number of units you have, you're paying for 2 dumpsters year-round in the store.
and if you want us to sit one out of your way, if it's a logistics thing for a little while, I get that, but you're gonna pay.
For 2
Because, I
dumpsters.
mean, I've got the same thing at my farm.
Okay, yes, sir. Go ahead.
I think where this got weird is the Palms, Palmetto Plantation, and Sea Pines all have individual water meters. The condos on 98 do not, and that's why I think this got messed up, is when we split it out, we went individual water meters, so we put individual trash on them, when that trash should not have been, because the club, Paradise Shores, Summer House, Waterside, all have a master meter, thus the dumpster charge. So I think that's where it got messed up, is when 15th Street got into individual meters.
I see that, but
That's not gonna change though. I mean,
No,
You're still
no,
gonna get your
correct.
water bills.
but I wanna make it uniform for everybody in the trash part of it.
Right.
For those condos and these condos, they all need to be.
Yeah.
They just need to be dumpster only.
Yeah. If they have dumpster, the individual doesn't get billed. Billed only
Yeah, I
the
don't
HOA.
even wanna go down that.
Should there be determination of what a multifamily residence is versus the big condos? Or should we say based on a master meter versus individual meters?
Well, I think
You
unfortunately,
can't,
we
'cause
have,
you
we
got
have
3
to,
units on individual meter, everybody has individual meters.
I think we have to account for those properties that have individual meters. Right, make them the same, we wanna put everybody under the same rules as dumpsters. Dumpster charges only, but we still now have 2 classes of property of multifamily unit condos in Mexico Beach. One's without individual water meters and one's with. So we need to solve that.
And then you got the trash compactor issue and another set of that, but we won't get into that.
Please. All right.
So what, is there an action?
Yeah, so Mel's gonna have to get with the attorney and make sure that wording is proper to bring back to us. But what we're looking for is billing direct on our trash dumpsters to the HOA and pay them. We don't touch the water or anything else.
Yeah, the HOA has to agree to become a customer. Otherwise it remains per unit.
So they're gonna have to.
Well, how could they not? I mean, how could they not?
They would want to, I mean, but you're right, they have
I
to.
would think they would want to, but they're gonna have to come in and sign up and be a customer and acknowledge they owe the money.
Yeah.
Okay, well, okay, that formality is gonna have to be done then, because, well, I know maybe a letter from the HOA would request.
Well, they, whatever it takes to become a trash and garbage customer, they need to do it as the HOA.
Is that as clear as mud?
And then it'll come off the property owner.
That's correct.
Okay, so we've given instructions to the city manager to handle that with the HOA, right? Okay. Next thing on the conversation that I take was number of cans. I know that we initially started with 2. I think there's a big question, short-term versus long-term. I think we need to answer that.
My question is there a way to answer that though?
And do we even know where the long terms are?
Well, we just need to go ahead and put in the ordinance, it's I'm not telling you. When we talked about this, it was the short-term rentals.
Right.
Where the bulk of the long-term rentals are just like me and you living there every day. It's a whatever, I mean, so we just have to write in the ordinance that the 2 cans are addressing short-term. Now, we're still gonna have the deal to identify, but we still have teeth in our ordinance to identify by excessive trash. Because it still says excessive trash, even if you're not in a short-term rental, that you can be fined. Even the guy that has a normal house over on whatever road, or me, if I continue to have excessive trash, it's in the ordinance that says they can fine me for it. I mean, they can charge you, they can charge me additional.
Yeah, I agree with that, but do we want to start off with some type of organization? And I think that throwing 2 cans to everybody, not 2 cans. Throwing 2 trash cans to everybody may not be the answer.
Well, is it to look at it from a different perspective? Identify the size of the property. You know, if it's a larger than 3 bedrooms, you gotta have a second can. I don't know.
Yeah, but that doesn't address, like I said, we're getting down, that doesn't address.
Second homes.
Doesn't address any. You know, I could have a family of 10 and live here full time and.
You know, we've all got people we know that come here and spend less than 6 weeks a year at their second home. They don't ever rent it out, and they pay their trash bill.
Yeah.
Just like their city bill gets paid.
Rightfully so, I mean, I do it.
So that's why I don't have a lot of patience for someone who's got a profitable rental.
I don't either.
Saying, I don't feel like I need to pay.
We might try to make this more complicated than it is. I think that we're gonna have a procedure in delivering these cans. You know, by address, that can's gonna be identified to that address. Is there a possibility, I kind of agree with Ms. Hamilton on the best person to really handle this and understand it, because they're trash people. Do they know where to put 2 cans and know where to put 1?
And they do.
And they do.
They do.
And they do, and if they do, why don't we go with that plan? And then see if we get some feedback.
That's how we're gonna deliver, just saying, addresses and serial numbers on the cans, and they know exactly where they go.
And And in a year, we revisit, because we'll have a year's worth of data.
We're gonna get some calls and we're gonna say, hey, look, I don't want 2 cans, it's not gonna fit.
So that's my concern is, can we build an opt-out for these people, either now or in 12 months, saying, okay, y'all charged me for 2 cans the whole year, I only used 1, can I please have you take back my second can?
I think we could do it sooner than that.
And I think the rental houses, again, I don't think they're gonna want 2 cans. I mean, I know we've had emails come in, there are smaller units. Of course, I had 2-bedroom units, I don't wanna get on, that I rented 8 of them for a period of 2 years. I can tell you, even though it was 2 bedrooms, after I went over there on a weekend to go clean up, the mountain of trash, I had to deal with it because I had another renter coming. And, you know, so I don't, how many bedrooms you got and how this and that. These people saying, I think the majority, especially like rental companies, would appreciate having 2 cans. Because you don't want, the owner doesn't want the trash, the new client coming in and there's a mountain out there. I see it constantly.
So is it as simple as enabling and enforcing 2 cans per rental unit, and then the owners themselves can come in and opt out? Is it that simple?
Well,
Council decision.
I don't know, I mean,
So we leave it in the ordinance, not to interrupt, you leave it in the ordinance as the $15 the rental for 2 cans, because we still are going to have a hard time figuring out what's a short term. I mean, there's no master list. But if we leave it in the ordinance, then we have something there to say,
I think
you
so.
are a rental and you have to
and
have
we
2
listen
cans.
we listen to our employees. When they deploy the cans, they're gonna know where 2 cans, and sometimes there are places up on the west end, I believe beachside, that are gonna need 3 cans.
Right.
At least. And I think we gotta make our excess trash fine a little more significant.
So that was my idea about
Instead of $10, make it a $50 fine.
if the
Well,
can.
it's gotta be more than $15, because common math says if it's less than $15, they're just gonna keep paying the fine.
Right, so if you make it painful enough for folks to start stacking up.
Make it $100
then they'll call us, right? We don't wanna be chasing people down. We want the owners to feel the pain, and they call us when they start getting $25, $30, $48 penalties for bags of trash stacking up.
I think it's $100. Make it a $100 fine.
do it one time.
All right, so do we wanna maintain the 2 cans and allow our people to disperse them and confirm?
I think it needs to stay in there because we'll be back rewriting it.
I think you're right.
Okay,
And I think the fine needs to be in there too, and it needs to be significant for excess trash.
It does, and it'll probably help us identify who the long terms are versus short terms.
all right, let's rope it in here.
Don't we have a list from the people who are legal and get a business license from us to do short-term rentals? So, I mean, you could do something like those that you know are short-term rentals, go ahead and give each one of those 2 trash cans and start billing them accordingly.
Staff, the city administrator, and the employees, you guys can handle that.
And then let these guys, then let the sanitation department note the ones that
That's
are
what we're gonna
using
do.
excessive,
We'll have a
and then
list.
start issuing additional fines and additional cans.
Because they'll know more about who gets what. You get a list of the homes that need either 1 or 2.
At least you have someplace to start.
Yeah.
All right, so we stick to the 2, staff, the city administrator, and employees are gonna put together the list of where 2 are going. We'll monitor those, right?
So what's in front of us on the table is ordinance 881. Do we need a vote on that?
No, we got one more item that needs to be addressed here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Want the excessive fees then to go up?
I think so.
And I remember,
What is it now, the excessive
about
fee?
the excessive, $10.
Well, like he said, it needs to be at least the 15, the price of another can.
I think it needs to be
It can be more.
I think it's $50
But
fine.
I also remember at a
I'm
meeting
serious.
when we were discussed that they were only allowed to pay that excessive fee X amount of times, and it was mandatory. We dropped off a can and said, there you go, there's your second can. I mean, I don't know.
That's a good idea.
I agree. I think the excessive fee would be the same as an additional can. And then at some point,
You know, is it 3 times that we fine them, 2 times that we fine them, and then we just drop off the second can and
They
say,
pay for it.
It's $15 a month, yeah.
Like I said, the second can's $240 a year. 15 plus 5, I mean, it's not a lot of money.
all right,
And
so
we're going to-
let's answer that then. Let's answer that though. We lay out 1 can and some we lay out 2, but let's address the 1 can. We lay out 1 can and how many times do we get excessive charge? Once?
Twice.
Twice?
On 1 can.
Twice.
Twice on 1 can, congratulations, you just got another can.
Right, done deal.
Did you
At,
figure it out?
at the price of the can.
At the price of the can.
Yeah. Here you got some?
Yeah, is that regardless if you're a resident, renter, everybody? Once you successfully use, then yes, it's gonna
Yeah,
be.
everybody.
I like it.
Accessible.
Fair
That's
is
fair.
fair.
I'm probably gonna get hit with this because I got 3 teenagers, but yes, we need to.
You might need 2 cans.
I'm gonna have to talk to my wife when she takes the trash out and put extra out there. All right, so twice then, right? Excessive, that makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, that's addressed. Last thing on it is, that we need to address, if I'm not missing it, is concierge service. I think that, where we put 2 cans where it's long-term or short-term, short-term, that we ought to charge a concierge service for that, because our guys are actually going in there, getting it, and putting it back.
Yeah. So
And
can,
I don't think they have a problem paying for that. They're not here.
so I would agree if we can accurately identify the short-term rentals. And I don't know that we can.
I think our employees can.
I'm back to the sake of the ordinance and the sake of getting this thing done, leave it as is and everybody gets their can. We're gonna be revisiting this in 6 months to a year. I mean, and don't charge, I think we need to strike all that out. That and the obviously the homestead thing would go away if you're not charging the $10.
See, here's the way I took the discussion before this ever came out was, as we discussed getting the sanitation department back to being healthy and efficient and the city looking better and going to the 96-gallon cans. Let them keep doing their job, because for 3 years at my address, they've never taken a can to the back of the house. And for the next 3 years, God willing, and I can still do it, I'm still gonna be taking mine to the back of the house. They know where they need to do it and where they don't. Simply for this rest of this year, until we can see financially where it's all gonna work, is let's just not try to bill for it. Let's just see where it goes. Mayor, I do agree. The people that are using their property as a business should be paying for concierge service. But to me, that's something we can look at going
But
forward.
then we as homeowners or somebody that's here that doesn't want it should then be able to ask, well, I take it out. I would prefer a normal rate.
Yeah.
Because I do that, but I don't want, that's getting too far down. We can address that later. If the numbers come out, we gotta see where this department's gonna shake out. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, well, and we'll know, we'll have an answer in what, August is when we start budget? I mean, we'll have 6 months worth of data.
we'll be able to get through the summer. I think that if we can get this rolled out in the next, these cans before that's the bulk. I mean, I know we've already been through 6 months of the year, 5, you know. Anyway.
Okay, so sounds like you got an appetite not to charge for concierge service right now.
For now, correct.
And I think one more advantage to the concierge service for the renters is, you know, it's Saturday to Saturday, the rental, and then they put it out on Saturday, it's not picked up till Monday or Tuesday. So if we're doing concierge, they're not gonna put it out, but our guys will know to pick it up on the correct day. So that's gonna make more beautification for the city, because the kids won't be sitting out as long.
So I guess in that number 2, we just basically from where it starts, the city shall provide, we just strike that all the way down and take out right now the homesteaded part, because we're not doing that right now. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Well, I guess,
Wait a minute, I thought you were still talking about providing it, but just not charging for it.
We provide it for everybody right
Yeah,
now.
so
Homestead, rent,
wouldn't
just
take
leave
out
it
the
alone.
entire sentence.
Yeah.
I would only take out the part, add an additional monthly charge, where it starts there.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Just leaving the,
I'd like to look at the future as we start to, I'm in agreement that we should just back off from it. Go ahead and take a look at it for 6 months or a year, whatever time we choose to do it. But I honestly believe that we have to identify who's disabled and needs it.
Right.
And who would like to pay for it. Because I believe there's some short-term rentals that would agree that I need that service. So hopefully at the end of that year assessment, we could identify those things. Definitely the disability side of it.
oh yeah. That's one.
Which could be as simple as making a form out and request that they sign the form, give it to the city, and they're locked in. All right. Do we, have we given enough instructions?
Well,
I've got a lot of notes, so.
So
I mean, there's only the main, there's just a little.
We'll see what our notes are.
Yeah.
What
So,
does,
We can,
I would continue the second reading until the next meeting and let us bring back another version for you all to look at before you have the reading.
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And just, you got all the, I mean, because when you bring it back, I want to look at it, and there's some,
So-
what is that? We're gonna
So
sit here
let me
and-
ask you this, so I red a red line this time around between the first version and this version. Do you want me to run a red line between this version and the next version?
I think what you ought to do is with you and the city administrator, I'll work that out, and whatever you decide to do, bring to the council. Is that fair?
yeah, we can work it out.
Because like, for instance, there's a lot of difference in the verbiage on the first reading from the second reading. I think we've been called on that publicly as well.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, on page 7 on the second reading, under number 6, where it says off-premises refuse, okay, that's scratched on the second reading, but it's there on the first reading. So that's kind of a conflict there, so,
Yeah, so
even
for that.
more reason to not accept the second reading today, because there's too many revisions.
Yeah, and for that reason, I think it'd be easier for me to see a complete red line from start to finish, including today. And I think that would probably be beneficial for the residents who are not paying as close attention, most of them are probably leftover, but most of them who are paying close attention, they don't remember, well, what did they say on January 27th? What's different between now and 5th? They don't know. So I'm offering the recommendation that we need a complete and total red line from what it is today to what it is after this meeting, so that when the residents download the next council packet in 2 weeks, they'll see all the proposed changes and some things that are in there today that we're just going to scratch out, we'll just scratch them out, and they won't notice those changes. They just want to know what we're about to vote on next week, which is, does that make sense? Like a total?
Yeah, I think that what we're, city attorney, we're looking at is, we started this process back in September. We had a couple workshops, we discussed this, we had a first reading, we moved forward, and all of a sudden this became real, because it's gonna happen, and all of a sudden everything blew up. So, we wanna make sure that whatever we write can be given to the citizens, they can look at it and read it and understand it. Because we need to move forward on this process.
Absolutely.
I'll work with Mel and come up with whatever red lines he wants me to.
Okay.
I mean, I can run a red line from the original one to what it's gonna look like.
You guys work that out.
And I can work
If
that
you
out.
were sitting as a resident, what would you wanna read and understand?
Exactly. I mean, I can't speak for everyone that's watching or everyone that's chimed in on this, but they really wanna see what we're voting on. They don't really care about the 14 revisions it took to get here. It's like, what's the meat and potatoes?
Well, you'll have a clean version.
Yeah.
It's just, I didn't know if you wanted to show what's changing between now and next time, or what changed from the initial to next time. But I'll work with Mel on it. I think the latter, but.
I think the latter.
Initial to.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sitting here not confused.
Anything else on sanitation?
I don't know what it's gonna cost.
Anything else on sanitation? So you want a
So-
motion, Mayor, to continue the second reading to the next meeting?
Okay.
Yes.
I make a motion that we continue the second reading of ordinance 881 to the next city council meeting.
So, wait a minute. What do we want to call
Oh,
the
we got a
second?
motion, so let's just get, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second, go ahead and take the roll.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
No.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Kasagi?
Yes.
Mayor Moore?
Yes. Okay, would you
Yeah,
have?
but my question was, why are we calling it the second reading? We're gonna totally revise it. Wouldn't we go back to it as being a first reading? Because
Well, the revisions you're making are not changing the intent of the ordinance. You may be tweaking who gets 2 cans, who gets 1 can, and that sort of thing. My point about the last discussion about the docks versus the bigger picture is you were broadening it to a much broader topic. This is still staying on trash and garbage pickup, and you're just now deciding who gets how many cans and who gets charged. So the intent of the ordinance is still remaining when it started.
It's minor changes, is what we're asking.
Well, and speaking, if we're gonna speak, just to give Ms. Hamilton and me, because I would have said the same thing, but I think the revisions that we talked about today take us back to more of the first. I do believe, I mean, we had a few besides the condo things, but that's where it was coming from. Anyway.
Yeah, we're not here to break any world records. We're here to get things right. Okay, so if it has to be a first reading or a second reading, the legal side of it, that's what we need to do here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we didn't have a second reading here.
Right.
So I'm thinking we would go to a second reading, but that's just my opinion.
we
The
didn't have
legal
something.
opinion would have to come out. Yes, sir.
I just got, just a quick point of interest that it sounds like the council settled on some things that would affect us on a billing standpoint and not agreed on things on a billing standpoint, but we've missed a couple billing cycles, and as the further this goes along, we'll probably miss we might miss 1, maybe 2 more billing cycles on making these changes going forward. So if maybe at the next meeting, like everybody's in agreement saying we need to get this pretty much down pat for the next meeting and get it done, and then we can go ahead and start implementing, and then that way the information that you guys and gals need by budget time, we can have some data in there that would reflect all that.
In other words, we're running out of time.
No, it's under my impression that we're going to attempt, we need to make a decision.
Yeah.
And then there, you can't do anything until the decision.
I can't do anything
made.
until the decision's made.
And hopefully somebody Adrian will, whoever needs to talk to the
HOAs.
associations and start getting their ducks in order.
Yeah.
Or they will be continually being charged until the
Exactly.
burden is on them.
Exactly.
To come sign up and to do everything
Right.
they need to do.
Yeah, and I don't need to encourage you guys to do this, but I do encourage you to do it. Make sure every day you're talking to the city administrator to find out where we're at on certain things that we have to make decisions on 2 weeks later. That's to get all your answers and stuff, so. I think we do a good job at that. Okay. Anything else on sanitation? No, we're good. And move up to the next mutual agreement, aid agreement, and it'll be Mr. Sandy Walker.
I'm going to say this well. Good afternoon, council.
Yeah, we started this morning.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. This is a mutual aid agreement between ourselves and Tyndall Air Force Base. We have one at the moment. It gets renewed every so often. Some very small minor changes, such as their new commanding officer at the base realized that it didn't say somewhere where if there was a government aircraft crash within our area, that once their people turned up on scene that they would be entitled to take command of the incident, which makes perfect sense to me. They know what's going on way more than I would ever do with an aircraft crash. So there's no significant changes. This is us giving them help, them giving us help whenever they ask for it or we ask for it. It's the same as it was before. It just needs to come before the council to be discussed if there is a discussion and or agreed on.
And it is the same thing we've done every year, pretty much.
Absolutely. The last one was actually renewed in 2019. This one has the possibilities to last for up to 20 years. It's 5 years, renewable after 5 years, renewable after 5 years for a maximum of 20 years. But also we can opt out of it tomorrow. So it's one of those things where as long as everybody is happy with the agreement, we stay in the agreement. If there's any issues that need to be changed, we opt out of the agreement, we put a new agreement forward for signage.
Any public comments? Okay, any table comments?
Were there any other substantive changes except for the aircraft
No,
recovery?
nothing of significance at all. And they're pretty much the same across the board, whether it's with us in a city, you know, we even have one with Panama City Beach. You know, when we had the tornadoes, Panama City turned up with their USAR teams, all that stuff. It just means that they are available to us. If needs to be, likewise, we would return the favor. And the other thing is, if we cannot do it for some reason, we can say no. And likewise, if they are operationally squeezed for whatever reason, they can say no to us. And there is no charging. We don't charge them for our time over there, and they don't charge us for their time over here.
So you're encouraging us to say yes?
Yes.
All right. Everybody in agreement with that? You okay?
Need a motion?
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we approve, that the mayor sign the mutual aid agreement between the City of Mexico Beach and the USAF Fire Protection.
Second.
Have a motion, a second, you guys take roll.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next thing on the agenda is the American Tower proposal.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Last year, you all considered and agreed to an amendment of the ground lease agreement with American Tower. They're doing business as Verizon. You also have an AT&T type lease in the same general area. And when we reviewed the proposed extension that they wanted, it appeared that it conflicted with the other lease. And so we've gone back and forth, and American Tower on behalf of Verizon has come up with a proposed alternative location for the propane tank in the buffer area to the north side, which Nell and city staff have reviewed, and I believe they can comment on it, but my understanding is it's actually a more advantageous area from the city's perspective. And so what I would propose, the difference being the number of square feet in the original agreement was 163. They're looking with this new map that you all received in the highlighted area being 290 square feet. So I would recommend that you readopt or reaffirm the second amendment to ground lease, changing the square footage and the exhibit to the current exhibit on the north side of the lease area. the original lease, when we identified there was a problem, the mayor never signed it, and so even though you all authorized it, we caught it before it was ever signed. So at this point, it would just be fixing the square footage and fixing the exhibit, and then authorizing the mayor to sign it.
Okay, so we've already approved this for the original location.
And
Changing location.
Now you're changing the
increasing square
location
footage.
and changing the square footage, yes, sir. But all other terms would remain the same.
Then I would think that we probably go ahead and ask for a motion on that.
Yes, sir.
So, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the changes to the current lease that the City of Mexico Beach attorney has to come up with.
Increase the square footage.
Increase the square footage, to move the location of the propane tank.
And authorize the mayor to
And authorize the mayor
sign
to
this second
sign
amendment to ground.
the second amendment to the ground lease.
We have a motion?
I'll second it.
And a second?
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. Mr. Mike, financial report.
Afternoon, everybody. In your packet, you received a November and a December financial report, and then per your request, a quarterly detail of all the city's activities. And I'm gonna exclude November, and we'll just look at the current December. That's where we stand right now. And I've highlighted 3 items from the expense side. The revenues, there was 1 item, you see the interest income, it seems a little bit low. Our CD interest is reported on a quarterly basis, so that would be reported in January, so that's why the CD income really isn't reflected here on this line, which would bring that percentage back up to closer to that 25% where we would be at a quarterly rate. But on the expenses, well, 1 item was the development services. We've had a lot of task orders and expenses for our engineering costs, and those are reflected there at 74%. We've used 74% of our budgeted amounts so far. So that probably will be an item that we'll be looking at going into the second quarter, probably from a budget amendment standpoint. The next one is, you see that code enforcement is up to almost 40%. Our insurance costs that we pay at the beginning of each year is around $600,000. And as we are working on our financial audit, I have not amortized those costs. It's just been it's been a 1 line item hit for every department. CRI and I are working on cleaning that up to amortize that when we submit the balance sheet and the trial balances to the auditors for our financial audit. So that number will go down significantly. And then roads and streets, you see you're looking at 43% of the budget. Majority of that is the paving that was done soon as the new fiscal year began.
I thought that we were gonna put that in the 25. Wasn't it like $175,000 or something like that?
Well, they had 100 and...
They spent both of them.
Yeah, they spent both of them right at the beginning. They did,
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
what
So
works
they
they
did it last
did.
year in the okay.
Yeah, so even though it says it's a high number of 43%, they used all that budget for their
He said that 175 went to the last year.
Correct, and that gets amortized, that would get amortized back into the fiscal year 24-25.
So if I understand you correctly, we don't have any room for the rest of the year to do roads and streets repairs because it's going to be...
Well, we'll take 117,000 of that when we do our fiscal year audit, and the auditors will move that back into fiscal year 24-25. So it'll reduce that percentage, but right now, it's still on the books for this year, and it won't get amortized, it won't get reclassified until the auditors do that for us.
So after that accounting maneuver is completed, do you have a rough estimate of how much remaining budget in this year we have for roads and streets?
Well, this year's budget for roads, don't, but I know for the paving part of it, they used the majority of it already when they did the second project. Yes.
What, Mike, sorry to step in. I don't know, did you have anything else you need?
No.
I just had a question for, while we're looking at this, and we'll go to the, when I was in your office and I was looking, just so we know, you had said that we have received, in the state share revenue or the gas tax, we have received a considerable bump.
We did in October, and this will kind of caveat into something else I was going to go into. The summary sheet that you're looking at now is what the council agreed that they would like to see on a monthly basis, and then the detail in the quarter. I've actually come up with a different summary sheet that when you flip over the back page, you'll see that our pooled cash is our significant amount. I've actually got another summary sheet that I will email to the council today that if you guys approve it, then I can go forward. But it actually breaks out every single account that's in our pooled cash. There's 21 accounts in that pooled cash. So then you can see the actual activity in all those 21 accounts that make up that pooled cash. So in that account is that sales tax amount. Bay County, in the beginning of October, we received an extra $211,000 in tax revenue from Bay County. I called them up and I said, we're only getting $6,000 on average a month from them. And the way it was explained to me was Bay County sets a threshold of the amount of sales tax that they will collect. I'm just going to throw an arbitrary number at it, $4 million. So if they collect less than $4 million, we're going to get our monthly 9% of that revenue. If they go over that $4 million, we get 39%. So that's why this is the first time they've hit it in 4 or 5 years. So that's why this year we got 39% of that last figure, which was a $211,000.
The reason why I asked that is because I was looking through these accounts and I thought we had already had that separated, but you just answered it. You just dumped it in the
yeah, and when you get your email today, you'll see a new summary sheet that has pooled cash pulled out separately. Because like I said, there's 21 accounts in that pooled cash, and then you'll see that increase.
But when we do budgets, for some reason, this is where I'm going to not get. You got it figured out, but I thought when we do our budget season that we already have that number in our sheets. I thought it was up here in these revenue categories.
It is. When we do our revenues on the budget, it is broken out by line item, but this summary is basically, it takes our taxes, in other words, that pooled cash number has a bunch of those different accounts that aren't reflected on because it's not in our general fund, so to speak. It's outside of the general fund, so that's why this is just general fund budgeted money. So
and it would be good, I'm not trying to take you're gonna break it out, but I talked to you about when we get these bumps, or say we have an overage that a project more times out of 10, it's over, we've gotta go find the money.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice to keep that, so that when something comes to this table.
Yeah, so that's,
we say,
when I told you
this here.
We have a report.
When I told you that I was gonna give you all a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
I've got a cheat sheet that explains every account that we got, I'm gonna get. And when I get feedback from you folks, if that pooled cash will back up the cheat sheet. So if you keep your summary, if you like it, it shows the pooled cash accounts with all those accounts broken out. That'll be your cheat sheet. You'll know what the running balances are in those accounts.
So if we have an increase, like the
right, so on a monthly basis, if that $211,000, you'll see in October that we got a $200,011 bump. So we're actually 300% over what we budgeted. We only budgeted $65,000 or $70,000 for that income. So it already would show that we exceeded our budget by 300%. That'll raise a flag to y'all going, hey, why do we have so much money? And then I'll be able to tell you why we have so much money.
In the 11 line items of December's revenues,
Mm-hmm.
where is the extra $200,000?
It's going to be back over, and it's going to be showed into the pooled cash account that's on the back side of your page.
Okay, so it's not going to be reflected in any of these 11 line
On
items?
this page right now, no, but when I send you the new version, it will be reflected. Every account, every revenue account will be reflected on the sheet. Budgeted and non-budgeted revenue.
So, second question. A jump from 9% to 39% sounds like such a deal. How did we score that?
Because they exceeded the collections of tax for, they set a threshold. Like I said, I just threw out an arbitrary number, $4 million collected. Well, they exceeded $4 million. Within that threshold, if they exceed that threshold, then Mexico Beach all of a sudden is on the line item as 39%. Whereas
It
regularly,
should be on population, though.
I don't know what it's based
It
on.
most
They just
likely
know
is.
our regular is around 9%. We usually get between $6,500 and $7,500 a month from them. But when they exceed that threshold, which they did, we got 39%.
Well, I guess my question is
Go
that...
out and buy more stuff and then that
Well,
is just.
No, I mean, 30, like, how much...
I mean personally, Jason, not the city.
What's the percentage of the other communities in the county? It can't be 39%.
No, I do have a schedule of that. Bay County did put one out, and I can pull that and send that to you. I don't know off the top of my
I'm
head.
just curious. It seems like we might be at the top of the list if we get 39% of
Either way, I asked Mike in there, he's traced it down, and
Yeah.
I'm sure,
Yep.
I'm happy.
I'm
Just
happy
put it
too.
there.
But I can pull out that schedule. They did send a schedule. They do send an annual
I would
schedule.
say take it and put it in a CD.
Yeah, I asked some of those same questions, and as he started answering, I just said, thank you, bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try to figure out their county to use it.
Exactly. That's,
I want us to be able to keep a line on it, and he's getting that. So we know, because we always have more stuff that's over budget.
well, and
not over
I know
budget,
that
I'm
y'all
sorry.
want it kind of summarized and simple, but like I said, the one I send you today, it's gonna be just like this. It's just gonna have one more extra column that shows every single account that's in pool cash. Because like I said, pool cash has 21 different GL accounts in it. And there's money allocated to each one of those 21 accounts. And on a monthly basis, it has to get journal entry into each one of those 21 accounts.
Mike, if you're done, I want to say thank you, and really what you've given us, the year-to-date monthly is excellent, and getting a first view of the quarterly, I think is exactly where we need to be.
Yeah, and to say that too, you were asked, I believe this is what we used to get, we should get these monthly.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, I did sit there on Sunday. Yeah. It's nice to have it every quarter.
Well, it's like
we don't need this any more than a quarter.
No.
Like what was mentioned at the second meeting of every month, there'll be a monthly report, and then at the quarter one, you'll get the monthly and the detail.
Okay.
Perfect.
Nice.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Well, looks like it ran everybody off. Any citizen comments?
Actually, I'm gonna make a comment.
One time.
Mel, thank you for getting the peeling roof fixed, and now I can look at aluminum. I mean, is it gonna be another 8 years of looking at plywood windows? There's gotta be a limit, and I just don't understand why when I see something, I have to complain about it, and almost 8 years later, it finally gets fixed. I drive around the city every day, and it's pretty simple to see blue tarps still on houses that have been under construction for maybe 10 years, longer than I've been here, and things like that. Don't we have an individual supposed to drive around in a vehicle with their eyes open, looking around, taking care of this stuff? I just don't understand why it's not being taken care of.
Rock,
It's just too simple. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I know I just wanna, it's such a, there's so many fine lines the attorney could say of how far this enforcement, I mean, people can get, I've got a house in my neighborhood, it's a perpetual permit. We talked briefly about it on these structures, trying to put some things, if we're gonna allow the accessory structures, what is the limits of when they have to do this or that, but it's kind of the same thing, it's like these property rights, and you getting these, and I'm no expert on it, but let me tell you, the system can be played and played and played. And I know this council, I say this because I'm part of every council that's ever sat here, has struggled with trying to over and over get teeth and putting more stuff in. And we think we got it, and it's like, people
Well, no, I mean,
figure it out.
It goes all in the comp plan, things called eyesores and stuff like that. It's all there. It's in the LDC.
Anyway.
And I think it was a year ago, the one deputy we had who left and went back down to Gulf County, he was taking care of Fort St. Joe for code enforcement, taking care of that. And you all even talked to him, and he gets stuff done. I don't understand why we're not. Has anybody ever followed up with him about maybe taking care of stuff here in the city and getting stuff done?
He's been invited here and has had some conversations.
Okay, I mean, it's just, it's just talked about and talked about and talked about, and I just don't understand why it just isn't. Put the teeth in and frickin' do it. But anyway, thanks Mel for taking care of that.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments? Close that. Staff comments?
I'll be as quick as possible, seeing as it's way past lunchtime. We've had about 7 applications for Public Works Director. We're going to interview 4 of the 7. We are trying to get some time next week where we can perform those interviews and get that process moving. For those who don't read the weekly report, I just wanted to comment on the pier. The pier has started their 30-day public comment period for the environmental assessment that started on this past Thursday. So 30 days from that time, then that'll be over. Once that is complete, then it goes to the Army Corps of Engineers for their permit. And it should take maybe a couple of months for that. So when I had previously was hoping that April would be a good time to get all this stuff finalized, it's looking like that might be a possibility. Of course, you can never make promises, but it's looking pretty good at this point. As for the jetty, that is moving through the process. It's in the last one right now. And when it moves through, it is at the higher amount, at the 4.2 million, not the one that was the 2.7 previously. So that's good news indeed. Hopefully it survives the final cut. So that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Just on the public works side, the hiring, to that level is a city administrator's ability to hire. So that's going to be a city administrator's decision based on his input from the staff also. So if you, as a council, have anything that you want to look at or add or anything else like that, I would suggest you get with Mel individually and either take a look at the resumes, give them your input or whatever, because after the fact, it's over, so.
So Mel, can you give us like a current job description of what you're looking for? Maybe we could get that in our little boxes so we would know.
Job description's already been approved by the council, so that's an easy one.
Okay.
So again, if you want the job description, ask for it and you'll get it.
I would like a current copy of that because
Tammy will probably get that for you. But my point is this is gonna happen, so make sure we get our input.
Yeah, we have input, but we really don't. I mean, it's support. We talked about that previously at this table, but I just wanted to talk about. And it never got, anything never went. I didn't realize we would be without a department head this soon, but we're here where we are. But there was some conversation before about some of these higher jobs that the council would have a little more. But I can't remember everything that was said, but we didn't do that. And nor do we need to, I don't know how it needs to be an administrator's job to hire his, but it is good for us to know, have.
I interpret, Mayor, what you said is just, Jason, is let's go review the resumes, make any comments prior to the interviews. Is what I would take.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to be surprised when he introduces the new public works person and say, hey, I didn't have any input.
No, and to the point of that, I mean, that's what our charter says, right?
The charter authority is pretty clear.
Yeah. So he does need to, obviously the council's gonna have to work with this individual hopefully for a long time, but you know, he needs staff members he feels good about, so.
Right, exactly.
So we'll be able to see the resumes as well.
Anytime.
Okay, department heads, any department heads or comments? Yes, sir.
Just two real quick comments. W-2s went out and the city filed them electronically for the first time ever. So no more paper stuff, except for the individuals. They have their paper W-2s. People that used to work here, they've all been mailed out, so everybody should get their stuff in time. And we before, every quarter, before I present the quarterly stuff to the council, all department heads, we met and we actually had a quarterly budget meeting as well. So each department head was presented with their budget status. We're able to identify areas of concern or anything that they saw. So it's not just the financials are secret, then I present them here. I'm still involving everybody as much as possible with their own budgets so that they have control of their spending and whatnot.
None of that surprises me. Appreciate you being on top of it. Council comments?
I just had one to bring back. At this table earlier, we talked about the accessory structures on the water and off of the water. I would just like for us to get that back in front of this council as soon as we can. I mean, we've kind of been kicking this thing around. People need answers, and we need to come up with a solution and a decision and be done with it. But I'm saying it here because it was there and I didn't get to say it earlier, that we need to get it back. We need to continue and get it finished. Not wait 2 months and, so, you know, not that we did it on purpose, but for anybody.
Yeah, it makes some good points. Any other, my comments, I mean, there's a lot of noise that goes on in the city, okay, and you guys know where that all comes from. Wherever it comes from, wherever you get your noise from. We have work to do here as council members, and that's what we need to concentrate on. Concentrate on our rules, concentrate on being fair, and concentrate on using your business minds to make decisions, and we need to stick to that. You know, it doesn't mean we can't, we listen to people all the time. This is what's left, this is what we're listening to. So, this is how it works. We just have to.
You're still here, you're.
It's cold outside.
His wife said, don't come home until 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and I'm not being negative on the noise. You have to know the noise, you have to understand it, but your decisions are made right here, you as an individual. And as a team, I hope, so. That's all I had. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
That was a turn up in deer. Wow.
Hey, you know what, this is probably the longest council meeting